Are you ready?
Hi, g'day everyone. Here.
Sorry, is that me? That's me.
The brick boards here. At least I know the sound's working.
Because I thought children don't fall from the sky and all of a sudden are 8 years old and build Legos.
No, I'm not. Honest, I'm not.
Backlog doesn't mind sitting there a little longer.
Thing sitting there. It's on the landing. It's in the hallway. It's. It might not mind sitting there, but I trip over it every so often.
People real careful.
Exactly. That's such a good idea. Do Rebels versus Stormtroopers or something, and then I can have it in an every Lego Star Wars mock or something.
We should have possibly Brigger Picks. Sorry, joining us a little bit later on. Same thing, just backwards.
Yeah. I see how you're moving it so I can't reach.
No, oh, come on, these minigirls are cheating. Because they've got way more leg in play. That's
a mock here, and I've got my mock there, and like Stranger Things set there. Not very organised.
I have to show you this. Oh, no, I have to show you this. No, I have to show you this. This is what Isn't that amazing?
Because this is the first ever time I've been on the live, I didn't want to build anything too big or anything too complex, so I'm going to attempt to build that.
Get him some wings.
He's so cool. No, I don't want to be a chicken. Don't make me a chicken.
Along to the 13th Family Bricks live stream. We're here building some Lego with some friends, and we'll bring them all in a sec. And that's a new little intro, which none of the guys had seen before. So I'm going to be curious to see what they thought of that, or if they're terrified and horrified. So, yeah, welcome along. And particularly to the replay gang, you guys always continue to impress. The number of people watching this after the fact is great. And particularly Brian's Bricks, who also put a comment down there on the comments, so thanks very much for that. And certainly anyone else who's watching this on replay, if you put a comment in there, then we'll give you a shout out the next time round. I think we'll just usually always forget to say share, like, and subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, and then just quickly do the sponsor video. Just helps to pay for a few little bills here. This video is brought to you by McCatsim Holiday Homes in Margate and Broadstairs. Great for a week's holiday or a weekend escape, being just over an hour east of London, UK. Treat yourself to amazing sunsets, a Lego wall, or great food. Visit www.mccatsim.com and mention this YouTube video and we'll look after you. So now that we've got that out of the way, I think we'll start bringing people in. And I think I'm going to, King Ollendorf, we got here way too many Nicole in the intro and no sign of Matt at all. No, that's not true. I'm just doing some stupid stuff in there as well. So, and I like the people who join and everything. So just a few shout outs to a few people who are out there. King Ollendorf, obviously. Simon, good evening to you as well. Lego, great to see you along and in here too. And Minifigure, hope that you're having a good evening as well. So I think having said that then, why don't we get in Nicole first. Lady McBrick, how are you going? I think you're on mute.
It is. Yeah. Can you read my lips? I really have to tell that I hate my accent. That's maybe the way forward. I just mute myself and everyone has to read my lips. But I love your intro.
Thanks for that. No, I thought your parts there were some of the funny ones. So I think it's the sort of thing, going back through the streams, is seeing what people are up to. There's actually a lot of funny bits in there. So, but certainly talking about 8-year-olds falling out of the sky and building Lego is certainly one of the quotes so far.
For those things, I'm really good for. I remember a couple of weeks ago, Greg spoke about the Lego logo, and I'm not sure what I was thinking. For me, I associated it with blue, and I told him, your logo is wrong. There's the color missing, blue. And everyone said, Tom, why? And I was so certain there's blue. There's blue in the logo Lego.
Yeah, it's the other two primary colors. And Minifig who's picked up on the fact that you're also dressed as a mime, so maybe you're already subconsciously doing it.
I think so.
So while we're at the next person, we'll bring in the Brickbods. How you guys going this evening?
Quickly unmute. We don't want to do the same thing. We're good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. I just think before we started commenting that you guys do also put out an intro on your stream, your channel, which is quite good as well.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a bit, I don't know, silly. Silly is the way forward, I feel, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it silly?
It is definitely
Okay.
silly, yes.
But really, really good as well.
Yeah.
And kind of, it's a bit of an earworm, so it gets stuck in your head quite a lot.
That's
One of those ones.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, then one of the other people we'll bring in is Trevor's Videos. How are you going this evening?
Good evening, everybody. I'm very well. How are you all?
Hello.
Yeah, going well. Sounds like you've had a bit of a busy week.
Yeah, a bit of a hectic week, so I've got the perfect excuse joining you all on the live stream to do some actual building this week. So, no, it's great. And I don't know, I have to show you this. No, hang on. That way. That's the way. This sticker sheet. Sorry, Nicole, I couldn't resist. And I don't think I ever got around to building that minifigure. But it was a brilliant intro. It was a really funny intro. And I agree with Carrie. Funny's the way to be.
Yeah, never trying to do anything too serious as such. So,
yeah,
we've got one other person joining us, and it's not Tech. He's away this week, which is a bit of a shame. We always miss having him around. But the person joining us, usually with people, you can sort of say this is the style of building that they do, whether it's Star Wars mocks or something like that. And with this person, I don't think there's any way that you can really describe it as such. So I thought I'd just do a quick little video and sort of show some of the diversity and everything, and then we can go from there.
I always think it's a joke that if I buy a box of bricks, it's always going to be one time of it.
The friction is fairly high, so you need an XL motor or maybe even two, but it works quite successfully.
With just 25 of them, I realised I could get them in a nice compact square, and from there I kind of got a bit carried away. I had a feeling that this was about 3,000 lightsabers. I wanted to do something quite small. I've always wanted to do a chess set in Lego, but realistically it's too big for minifig scale. Even that's obviously quite large, but you can get away with it. It's just about the right kind of size. Nothing to do with Lego. This also lights up from behind, but you can see from here it is just lightsabers. Scan it with a QR reader, it still worked, but it just looked wrong. So then I decided to replace it with a mixture of 3-stud long blades, 4-stud long blades, and some plates and tiles, and that finally got the QR code working. Quite a few people have suggested things, but nothing's really kind of stuck. I built a slightly smaller version of this a year ago for a small show. Too simple. Yeah, this is only the third GBC module that I've ever built. I've not yet built one to instructions, so I kind of make things up as you may have guessed. This certainly isn't instructions. I initially decided I would try and just build a single ring and have a single ring of track driven, and then I realised that hey, if I've got one ring of track, I might as well have two, and then well, if you've got two, you might as well go for 5. So
So just a bit of an overview. Some of the video was sped up at double speed, so John doesn't actually normally talk that fast, but otherwise the video would be like forever long. So not only does he do amazing builds and everything like that, recently he's also just taken over as head of sort of London AFOLs, in addition to running lug bulk and a few other bits and pieces. So we'll bring him in, Mr. Jonathan Gale. How you going?
I'm good, Matt. Thank you. Good evening, and hi, folks. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I think I might be stealing that video as a nice introduction to myself in future, Matt. It's a good, you can see a random selection of bits on the desk here, but I'm sure we'll chat about those bits as we go through the evening. But yeah, good to meet everybody.
Excellent. Sorry, I think something's happening. It's really laggy, of course. I'm just going to drop out for a second.
Is everybody else still there?
This is where you can't get back in. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, there
That was scary.
Welcome back, Matt.
Okay, hopefully that's working a little bit better. Yeah, is that sort of a bit better? Hopefully. Yeah, it's funny. Just before the stream, I was having a chat to Trevor. It's like, in the second or third hour, it gets laggy. Is it still bad?
Seems all right.
okay.
Okay then. The wonderful joys of live streaming. So it's always something going horribly wrong. So anyhow, we'll keep trying to push on through that. So yeah, John, how are you going? I know you probably said it already.
Yeah, no, good. Thanks, Matt. I'm not sure what you missed in the connection issues there, but no, I was just saying I think I will steal that little intro video that you did for me. I'm kind of looking back, thinking, I wonder what else he's going to stick on here next. So yeah, no, it's good, and I think it's probably a good description. There's probably some themes certainly that I tend to build to. I've got a few long-term things that have kind of become a bit of a running joke now amongst the London AFOLs that I've been working on projects for a decade or more. Eventually, I'll get around to finishing them, but yeah, I do tend to bite off more than I can chew sometimes. This thing behind me on the desk was a small little ice planet rover that I started, and it kept on growing and growing, and ended up being, I think it's 100 and something studs long. It's crazy. I can turn it on, but I've only got half of the motors at the moment because when it's running full, I don't know how well you can see, but the wheels rotate, and there's steering, and yeah, so that's a bit of a beast. That's a kind of long-term project, but I've kind of shot myself in the foot really, because I've built it sort of so large that I can barely lift it as it is now. By the time I finish it, it's going to be so heavy that I'm not really sure how to move it around and get it to a show, but eventually this thing should appear in a show at some point. But yeah, we're up to it's four medium motors that drive each of the 8 wheels.
Wow.
Another medium motor to actually have steering for each of those wheels. So each of the wheels are something like 500 pieces of Technic damper track, and yeah, so that's
John, you might be able to drive it to the show if you carry on.
Well, so yeah, it's so heavy that even with like 32 motors driving it, so far it's only just about strong enough to kind of move along. And unfortunately, currently it's also so strong that it's strong enough to rip its own wheels off. So I might be able to drive it on ice, like the Ice Planet theme would work, but at the moment the friction between the wheels is so powerful that it kind of rips the wheels off the axles as you drive it. So yeah, a little bit more tweaking to go.
The sheer force of itself, yeah. It's where do you? Because I think we were chatting about this. It must have been about a year ago or something. Because I think you're just asking general ideas of how to do something rather. I mean, what did your original idea start off with? Because I think that was the one thing I'd characterize you is that if you can do something small and simple, you'll just make it huge and complicated.
You see, you claim that, but here's my proof that now I can build small things. This took me about 4 hours to build, because trying to hold lightsaber blades, there's 100 of them there, trying to hold them into a grid. They really, it's like entropy. They really want to compact themselves down into the most economical shape, which is a kind of hexagonal packing arrangement, and trying to make them behave and stay in a square packed grid long enough to actually get all 100 of them in place. That's a bit of a challenge. The hexagonal arrangements are pretty good. You can make things. I don't know how well that will show up on camera, but this is quite happy just held in by friction. And there's literally just lightsaber blades just stacked in.
Yeah,
you know, I can give it a shake, and it will be amazing if that collapses on camera. That'd be good for YouTube, wouldn't it? But yeah, so it's quite good. But yeah, getting things into squares is a real challenge. But yeah, sometimes I will see little about as a result of something we did in one of the London AFOL's meetings. Richard, that was organising London AFOLs for years, had just bought a bunch of grey lightsaber blades, bought them cheap on a discount somewhere, and sort of stuck those into our parts. And I suddenly realised that 25 of them made a nice little 2x2 stud square, and I thought, well, you could get extra detail with that. So I've made lettering with them and various things. But then I thought, oh, I wonder what you could do if you kind of got a bit silly about it. So hence that big sort of rooster that you saw, the Portuguese rooster that I took to the show out in Paredes de Cura a few years back. That was in the cupboard in the Lego house for a while, which is quite nice. So it's quite nice to do that. But I've been kind of looking for another challenge, for something else to build in a similar style, and recently built this thing, which is 5 kilos of Lego. It's 4.5 studs across, so it's a half stud using Technic lift arms in the middle, and then tiles on the outside. And then the sort of secret with this, if I turn off this light, and then turn on the UV light.
Wow!
Oh, wow!
That's so cool.
And when without the UV light on it, it's almost 8,000 glow-in-the-dark Lego lightsaber blades, and then the black ones are actually white Lego lightsaber blades. So under normal lighting conditions, it's basically just a white sheet, and it's only when you hit it with the UV light that they actually turn on. But yeah, this does weigh an absolute ton.
They are glow in the dark. Did you sell a kidney?
No, I managed to. There's one of the German shops had a load of them really cheap some years ago, so I bought a big bag of them.
Wow,
the way they glow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so it's quite fun when I sort of turn off the lights in the room to go to bed at night, and there's a whole sort of array of random glowing bits across my room here with various bits that are glow in the dark.
That's what I love about the Avatar sets with all the glow in the dark elements. I love that. That's the same effect. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I look at any set that has glow in the dark elements and think, well, what can I get next? But they're generally so expensive. They are just so expensive. I've got something else, which is a big wall of glow in the dark pieces. Just turn that light off again. There's a sort of big panel of glow in the dark plates, and this is what you saw. A smaller version of this is what I had in Scareback, but using a laser pointer, you can just draw on it. So that's quite a fun little toy. You can also sort of project onto it, sort of shadow puppets or whatever. So yeah, it's quite a fun little toy. It's very difficult when you're doing this backwards in a mirror. So, but yeah, without lug bulk, I won't say how much these cost on lug bulk, but without lug bulk, this would have been prohibitively expensive. And Lego keep playing with the prices of these bits, and I think the little plates now have gone up to over £1 each, which is just basically makes it impossible. So that's one of the perks of being in the club. But yeah, without going into details on pricing.
Well, even with lug bulk, I think glow in the dark is expensive.
They've tripled the price in the last year, so I'm glad I got them when I did.
We were after the carrots this year, and yeah, they were just far too expensive.
It's interesting because we actually bought carrot tops. We actually bought carrot tops this year rather than carrots because they're kind of generally more useful for other things. But yeah, I did work out they were a multiple of the price per. If you do it like price per kilo, they're more expensive than silver.
Didn't you buy some, Nicole, recently, some glow in the dark elements?
Yes, my whole position of glow in the dark pieces is that, and I think I paid 40 euros just for these very, very small amount of glow in the dark pieces.
You're going to start somewhere.
Right.
My question is, do you have a UV torch?
No.
Get one.
Get yourself on eBay. Just type in UV torch, and these are about £12, something like that. They take 6 AA batteries, and there's sort of 100 little UV LEDs. I don't think most of it isn't actually UV; it's visible light, but it kind of just about stretches down into the UV band. But this just illuminates things so much better than standard light. You can sort of instantly see.
Yeah.
That it will make that logo appear. Previously, it took a few seconds to appear, and I've actually got a 25-watt USB flood lamp shining on it, whereas this thing does it just in seconds.
Right.
UV get yourself one of these, and you can see the UV effect on the panels.
Yeah.
These glow quite impressively in the dark.
Wow. Yeah.
So I can strongly recommend UV torches, but just they all look identical. Get one of these from eBay for about 10-15 quid.
Yeah. Thank you.
I need to get one of them, John. Thank you.
Yeah, they're you'll sometimes find that they'll do like 1 for 12 quid and 2 for 20 quid. So if a few of you want them, if you're close to each other, gang up, and you might say.
Right.
But it's amazing actually how many pieces now are glow in the dark. So historically it's been like the trans neon green. These things glow like crazy. The trans neon orange, which you can see in these panels, and the other one that glows, which people don't know, is trans medium blue. So it's not listed as a neon color on Bricklink or anywhere, but transmedium blue is also a UV fluorescent color. The new vibrant yellow, the new like super shiny yellow that's appeared in sort of down the that glows like crazy when you hit it with a UV light. That's a good one.
I think someone mentioned that the avatar tree, the pink one.
Yeah, the elements at the bottom, they're glow in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the glow in the dark ones which luminesce, and then there's the fluorescent ones which fluoresce. So the luminescent ones will glow even when you turn the light off, and the fluorescent ones only glow when the light's on. So yeah, that's the sort of difference between them. But my laptop's just doing something strange. I'm not sure whether you can still hear me, but I've just lost video. So hopefully I'll be back in a second if I've gone. Oh yeah, no, you're all back. I think we're good. So yeah, but the other thing to just bear in mind as well is all of the new plastics, when they changed the plastic formulation, new plastic formulation fluoresces weakly, which is incredibly annoying if you haven't realized that you've got a mixture of different types of bricks.
Yeah.
Because you'll build something, and if you're building something like me, which kind of relies on shining a UV light on it, if you haven't realized, you get to the show and you realize you've built a nice glass wall out of 1x2 bricks, for example, and 3 of them stuck somewhere in the middle just glow and all of the others don't.
Yeah.
And it's only when you realize you've kind of like built it into something and haven't realized. So I will occasionally wander down to the Blue Water shopping centre to pick a brick, walk, shine, and see which bits are going to glow, but it can get annoying.
Right, I can
imagine that would get you
just got somebody else who's just popped on and can see has been waiting patiently, and of all people, I'm hoping that they didn't see the intro because they wouldn't have seen how badly I messed that up. But a very good evening to Brigitte.
Hi. What's this about the intro? What happened? What did you do?
Oh, it's brilliant. You're brilliant. You missed the trick there.
Oh, I guess it's something
I've managed to finish work a little bit early. I've got the other manager to do the close, so I thought, I got the other manager to do the close so I can get prepared because I'm going to London tomorrow. And then I forgot I was streaming, so I have to do it in the morning. Yeah. So, what did you do on the intro?
Just the standard picker bricks instead of bricker picks. Which is the better Freudian slip than the other one.
Yes, let's not talk about that one. Yeah, you did do that one, did you?
I don't know what one you're talking about.
It can't be any worse than my stream on Tuesday. It was awful. It just crashed. I couldn't get back. I don't know what happened.
I know what happened there. You just like froze. Everybody was saying you were looking at your instructions, and that was it.
I was looking at my instructions. I basically stopped it and restarted it. It was Streamlabs, but it's rubbish. Stopped it and restarted it, and it just wouldn't start again. And then every time it did start, it came on for like two seconds, and then went off. And I was like, I'm just going to bin this now. So yeah, never mind.
It was just as we arrived as well.
It was. I had one more brickhead to build, so I'm going to build it on this stream, which is a layer.
Use some Star Wars in case you want to.
Because I was trying to build Star Wars before it's actually come out. That's why. Yeah. Anyway, hello, John Gale. Sorry, I'm Kerry.
Hi, Kerry. Nice to meet you.
Yes,
nice to see you. Sorry, I was rabbiting on for too long, so sorry to leave you in the waiting room.
I quite often take a UV light and shine it on all my geocoins because they've got some weird paint on them, and some of those glow in the dark. It's great.
It's almost like a fun little hobby, isn't it? It's a silly thing, but yeah, it's
admittedly, I've never taken it into a Lego store and done that. I might try that.
I was in the Blue Water one the other day, and Jordan Paxton, one of the Lego ambassador team employees, was there and just said, "Oh, John, do you know which one's fluorescent?" It's like, for one time I haven't brought it with me. I could have just shown off, but
So how is that something that you originally discovered? Did you just play with torches and your Lego?
No, so I remember having like one or two tiny little trans neon orange pieces in like the Ice Planet sets when I was little, and if you take them out in the sunshine, like, yeah, I know taking white Lego into the sunshine is not a great idea, but you take them out in the sunshine and there's obviously a lot more natural UV light there, and they do just have this little extra sparkle, and it's kind of like, I always knew they were impressive. And I was just chatting to somebody years ago, and they said, "Have you ever tried just hitting them with a UV light?" And I was like, "No." Why would I? And it's like, oh right, okay. So yeah, that led me down the whole heading to eBay to buy a UV torch thing, and yeah, it's resulted in too many random weird building things since.
Because you in the video, you obviously had that the big whatever dome one, which I think was that Scareback last year that you took it along to.
Yeah, so that big dome thing, that's a truncated icosahedron. It was originally built kind of with the excuse that it was going to be part of our cyberpunk collaboration. London AFOLs were doing a big collaborative build, which was going to be a cyberpunk London. So, imagine London, 2077 kind of era, where the water levels have risen, the Thames has flooded, and kind of London is this future dystopian nightmare sort of city. Giant tech megalopolis kind of thing, and giant skyscrapers. And part of that was going to be that this was going to be Leicester Sphere train station. So I built a whole lift from an underground section of train track that would then come up through the middle of it, and built this 80 centimeter wide, roughly sort of diameter dome. And it used a similar technique to this thing, but on a much smaller scale. So these are lightsaber blades just held in with friction, and just a few other bits in the middle that I was just playing around with earlier today. But you can get 37 lightsaber blades into a little hexagon made of 3 stud long plates. So if you just make a hexagon out of 3 stud long plates, stack that up a few layers, you can just wedge lightsaber blades into it. So it's 37 lightsaber blades, and it makes a really strong Lego hexagon, all freestanding. And that kind of then allowed me to use that as the corners to make larger hexagons, which were then held in place, and then build pentagons. So it's 20 big hexagons, sort of this kind of size, and 12 pentagons that link them together. Each of those hexagons had a corner that was 37 lightsaber blades, and there were 20 of them. So overall, that thing was 4,000 individually placed lightsaber blades. To get them into place, it's a case of loading up all one color, and then generally with a pair of tiny little tweezers, pulling out one lightsaber blade and then poking another one in one at a time. So each of those hexagons took probably 3 hours, 2 hours to build, and there were 20 of them. So it was one of those sort of, you can do it in front of a YouTube video and just kind of sit there, mindlessly just filling things in. this thing that I built it's 7,988 lightsaber blades, which again all have to be loaded in just sort of 1 or 2 at a time, or 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, depending on how big your fingers are and how many you can get in, and then again tweezing out 1 or 2. Unlike the Portuguese rooster thing, this one has actually got a cover on it, so I can tip this up. You can see there's a reflective cover, and even that cover, it's like a perspex cover. Even that cover is actually Lego. It's the lid from a Lego Dacta education set. So I am very much a purist.
Those education sets are not cheap either, so it's
it's one of these things. I bought one. Somebody gave one to London AFOL years ago, and we donated it into an auction. And I didn't bid on it at the auction, and it only went for a few quid. And then Richard actually after that said, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't get that to make something weird out of lightsabers with it." And I'm like, "No, I've missed my chance." So I sort of went and said to the person that won it, "Hey, can I offer you like a quid more or something?" And that started it off. So I've been sort of slowly collecting these for a few years whenever I see them pop up sort of cheap without, crazy postage from the States or something. And yeah, so I now have sort of plans to build something with that, but I'm very much a purist.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's I have possibly started breaking the puristic element nature of my building with I've just started resorting to cutting Lego hoses, which Lego does actually endorse. They make you do it in things like the architecture set. The Space Needle architecture set requires you to cut the Lego hoses. But I'm planning to build. We're working on a big collaborative moon base project as a group. So there's 21 of us working on a big moon base for next year, and I'm working on a big geodesic dome. But it's 500 little hoses that need to be cut to precise, like sub-millimeter lengths, in order to then link them into a shape. So as you do.
More patience than I've got, seriously.
So yeah, I've currently got plans in my mind. I'm working on bringing a model to that show, which will be probably in the order of 50 to 60,000 pieces. That giant white tower thing that you might have seen in the intro video, a big GBC tower, I think that's something like 35,000 pieces, 40,000 pieces. It weighs about 90 kilos, and that went to Steam. That went to the Great Western Lego Show by train.
Are you going to come to Bricktastic next year?
I was at Bricktastic last year, or no, the year before. I think I missed last year, but I was at Bricktastic. Yeah, no, this year I missed. I've sort of lost track. Yeah, this February's Bricktastic I missed. I was at the one before, actually, with that big glowing sphere. So I was over on the side with that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one.
And I was there. I was also there with the lizard man suit from the CMFs, the Big Fig project. Mine was the lizard suit guy. Which again, there's a problem with being both a perfectionist and a purist, which is trying to do both is a challenge. So the lizard suit guy, when you look at the little CMF, on his chest is a pattern of scales, and I replicated each individual scale on the front of this thing, which was that was probably too much, but once you start something you might as well finish it. But
do you ever get any sleep, John?
I do. It goes in phases. It does go in phases. I tend to my Lego building, sometimes I'll build like crazy for like a week. I might have a week off work and I'll spend the whole week, like, a couple of days off or whatever, but most of that week I'll just spend building. And then I won't actually build anything out of Lego for like 3 months. I'll sometimes get kind of distracted with other things, and it'll be literally 3 months. Despite being at the Lego meetups, I'll be the one organising and chasing everybody around, and it's like I haven't actually touched a brick on the table yet. So I've kind of been in one of those building phases. But then recently I've designed. London AFOLs have never actually done project support. So we've done things at shows, but we've never done a large project support kind of build. So I organised a big collaborative castle build, which will be appearing at Steam this year. So no more spoilers than that. But some people may have seen the actual castle because I was building it digitally for a couple of days while at Paredes de Cura. I actually built it physically, videoed myself dismantling it so that I could then rebuild it in studio. To then give instructions out. So it's going to be it's going to be sort of 200,000 piece castle that we're working on. Each tower is about the same amount of bricks as Lego's big Lion Knight's castle. And some people have bought several towers worth of parts, so it's on its way. So yeah, it's looking good. Matt's in on this, so I'm sure you will see some update videos in due course. And then having spent hours and hours and hours with my head in studio, not touching any physical bricks, it was great to actually then work from the instructions and actually build the tower, and it worked. So yeah, Ashley's in the chat. I saw Ashley was somebody who was one of our guinea pigs. Working on building bits and suddenly realizing that I'd duplicated that part in the instructions because Studio didn't really show you that, and so yeah, with some assistance from the other builders, and then I've ended up doing the same thing again for our moon-based build. I've built some sort of standard modules, and then other people will expand on it and build their own versions. But yeah, it's been fun, but it's quite nice to actually get back to physical bricks. So yeah, this thing you said about do I get any sleep? This was kind of a no to that answer, because I started this at 5 o'clock on a Friday night 2 weeks ago, and I basically finished the shell and loaded most of the bricks in by about 3 o'clock on the Saturday morning, and suddenly thought, oh dear, what's the time? I should probably go to sleep. So
I thought I was bad.
Yeah, that was sort of it was about 8 hours just non-stop at one point, and I suddenly realized it was about 3 o'clock, and I think I'd literally just got the last row of bricks in, so it's like, right, it's not going to collapse overnight, I can put it away and leave it. And then it took me a few more hours, one at a time, tweezing out the lightsaber blades and putting the white ones in. And of course, all the time you're doing it, I'm having to sort of hold a torch because it's really difficult to see a sea of white things, so you're putting white things into a white thing, trying to work out which are the white things. So trying to do that without sort of blinding yourself. I've got these sort of UV, like UV is fine in sort of short doses, but yeah, I wouldn't want to sit there for 12 hours with a UV light shining in my face. So, and these came from eBay with the 10 quid torch. So I suspect these will probably melt your eyes the second you look at them. So I wouldn't actually trust them if you do buy anything on there. But yeah, I get down random rabbit warrens, and the next thing is, should I buy like a light meter to check what wavelength the UV is, and it all just gets silly. I'm sorry, I realise I've rabbited on again, so I shall shut up and let somebody else talk.
No, it's just fascinating, just the different things that you do, and then I guess you take it to that next level, which most people go, oh, if I had enough, maybe I would. Whereas you sort of keep on going with it. And some of the things you come up with are just amazing. And I was fortunate enough, I think it was in 2019, we had the annual Christmas party. And for that one, you know, we have some of the sets donated, which then get raffled off and the money goes to charity. And then other people go through and make little donations of various things. And I actually won one, which, funnily enough, was John's little reindeer done all in lightsaber blades.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's quite amazing because it's literally just held. I'm trying to get some light here. But
Yeah,
some little.
It's a sort of 3.5 stud separation, and to get that half stud, it just happens to work out quite nicely with the maths that one of those 5 stud long Technic plates just gives you the perfect separation to cram in. I think it's 203 lightsaber blades into that tiny space, and it's quite amazing. You could kill a person with that because it's just solid Lego. It is just solid plastic. It's like this. I mean, it's you know, it's the same as this giant thing, but just in a much smaller scale. But yeah, I tend to try and build some little thing for Christmas. I was building a 10 by 10 version, and Matt actually showed you the 10 by 10 QR code that I've got, which is lightsaber blades, in that little intro video. But the little plastic panel in front of that to hold them all in place is also Lego. But I've now basically wiped out the world's supply of those from Bricklink, because that glass it's the little plastic glass, he says. It's the sort of glass panel from a Clickits picture frame, and it's just slightly larger than 10 by 10 studs, which means it just about is held in place in the groove that you get down the edge of tiles. So you can have a 12 by 12 shape with a row of tiles around the outside, and the groove at the bottom of the tiles is just enough to actually hold that plastic in place. So yeah, that's there. But I've basically wiped out the world's supply of them, and I've sort of there were never that many to start with. So I've had to resort to making smaller ones for the Christmas raffle these days. But
because I think it's just lived in this plastic bag up on the shelf away from everything else. Because I think you've said they can pop apart quite easily, and you're not going to rebuild them.
Yeah, they're pretty reasonable. The friction on them will actually hold it together to some degree. I've got somewhere a little. I've got a bunch of stuff kind of close to the desk here, but I had to make a little frame to actually load that up. So the secret, if you're doing anything, at some point I've kind of had a plan on and off. That I will do this with the London AFOLs, but a couple of people have said they'd quite like to make one, so we'll make one. But I had to basically make up a frame. There's a couple of rows of Technic bricks, so you can hold the lightsaber blades in place as you build. You can kind of remove one, slide the next layer in, and then press it down to kind of hold the first bit in. And by kind of changing the height, it sort of holds them in place as you build, which saves you from the kind of accidents that I've had, which is before now I've been loading the things up, holding it with one hand, loading them in, and then I've looked at my watch and tipped out hundreds of them all over the floor when I'm halfway through building. That's really annoying. But yeah, trying to get the precise alignment to hold things in place for those little 1x6x5 panels is a bit of a pain. But that kind of just propped on a desk does the job. So not exactly beautiful, but yeah, at some point you may see a big sea of these things appear out of London AFOLs at some point in the coming months. But I've been collecting lightsaber blades when I get them cheap every now and again. Yeah, I know a few years ago I was in that Blue Water, and they had a whole bunch of lightsaber blades in there, and just got a big giant cup of it, and then got home. It's like, what am I actually going to do with these? Like, so, yeah, well, I took I am a bad influence, and it's amazing. I had a bunch of people who actually bought lightsaber blades on Lug Bulk, and people bought like 200 of them, and said, "Oh, I'm going to make something amazing." So how many did that take? Oh, 6,000. Ah, right. So I didn't buy enough then, is what you're saying. Yes, you didn't buy enough. It takes, I think I did the maths on it. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it takes about 17,000 lightsaber blades just to cover a 48x48 base plate.
That's crazy.
So if you ever thought the 2,200 1x1 plates to make a mosaic was annoying, multiply it by 6 1/4, I think is the rough calculation. So and then multiply it a bit more because it's hexagonally packed instead of square packed. So again, that takes up a bit more space. Yeah. But and Matt, you asked where I got my inspiration from, and the other kind of answer partly is pick-a-brick walls. It will be a case of, oh, I have this part on a pick-a-brick wall. What could I make from it? Or I will see something on a YouTube video, and I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I currently have a list of about 20 things to build. So it's my sort of secret, to build list. And stuff's been on there for a decade, and I will probably never build it. And nothing makes me happier than when somebody else actually builds something from my list, because then it's like, right, I don't need to build that. I can take it off. I've seen one that I'm happy with. It's good. But there's random things that I've bought, and I'll get a little idea in my head, and it's like, why did I buy that? Behind me, it's not just here for the video, but this is a Lego Duplo glove puppet. And at some point, I do plan to make like an automaton mechanism that will go up inside, that will make him open his mouth and move his arms. But this is like number 12 on the list, and it's been there for about 8 years. So yeah, every now and again, I can just have this little cheery fellow just sitting next to me. But also making use of a pick-a-brick cup to hold him in place.
Already worked out some proportions and dimensions there.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. What I might do is just take a moment and just go around the panel and sort of see what people are building, where we're up to. So start off with Nicole. What are you looking at building tonight?
I'm building this. Can you guess what it is?
Orchid.
Yeah.
You got the box behind you. You didn't make it very difficult.
Okay, that's true.
You see, you say that. I was about to say it's like it's the corridor from a spaceship or something. I was thinking it's a nice round structure, but yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that going, oh, you've been inspired by John or something. Well, what's going on? Like
that's kind of my joke, my long running film. I'm not going to show it tonight, but my long running project is I've been building a Babylon 5 sort of scale model for about a decade, and I'm still only halfway through. It's going to be 2 meters long by the time it's done, but it's I can build little cylinders and stuff for it, but actually getting the final bits to hold itself together. But so that's exactly the kind of technique that at some point is probably somewhere in there. But,
yeah.
Babylon 5. Space Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then speaking of tech from earlier, calling in to aggressively remind Matt the UCS Razor Crest 5 times VOP next week, and it's absolute must buy. Yeah, I made the mistake of saying to tech that's actually tempting by the time you do the 5 times with some of the promos and everything, but we'll have to sort of see.
Yeah. Go on, Matt. Go on.
Yeah, it is still a lot of money, isn't it, to start with? So yeah, it's a chunk of cash
still
to
a lot,
splash
and
out.
then, well, that's the thing, and then it's effectively 25% off, but you still have to spend that extra bit first, and because then you're sort of looking at, well, John Lewis has got it for like 415, but it's sort of like then you're not getting the other things that you can possibly use, and it's like decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Lego know how to mess with you. That's what they do.
They certainly do, Kerry. Yeah.
Because I'm wanting to get the busts, but they're cheaper at the minute in Smiths. So it's very annoying.
Yeah.
You need to get the coin.
I need the coin. I need the coin.
I have just done something with a Lego coin recently that I've not seen anybody else do, but it's currently a secret. It's under embargo, so maybe another time you'll see that. But yeah,
another time it'll pop out.
You've mentioned it.
And then Minifigure. Oh, is that why Tech gave me a particular link to use for that? How much commission are you making on the Tech? And so, BrickBots. Apart from doing that intro for your channel, what are we looking at building this evening?
We're actually unbuilding. I've been taking apart the bits of the avatar sets that we didn't use in our mock. So that's avatar sets there. It's kind of sad.
A lot less colourful ones.
Yeah,
because we took all the colourful bits out.
All the colour bits went in the mock, and then this is just all the grey and brown and boringness. So I've just got the sorting tray to try and part these into slightly more order. So that's what we're doing. Ian is not doing that. Ian has taken some parts and built his own little thing. I don't know why. Hiya.
There you go. I'm just fiddling with parts, really.
Yeah. Ian has this thing that if there's parts in front of him, he'll just attach them all together. And so whenever I'm trying to tidy up this room, I'm like, is this part of a real build or is this just Ian putting bits
It's fairly obvious. I'm just putting random bricks together.
It's not always obvious. Just annoying.
Excellent. So one's breaking down and one's figuring out what to do with random pieces. Love it.
Yeah.
So, and then Trevor, what are we now that you've had a busy week and had a few seconds now to sit down and build some stuff? What are you looking at?
Well, last week I think I've got the Indiana Jones bug because I did the plane chase last week and decided to do the Escape from the Lost Tomb this week.
Ooh, very nice.
Nice.
So I've well and truly been bitten by the Indiana Jones bug, so I'm going to be building that this evening. So it's a good build up to now.
Excellent. Yeah, we sat down with the kids and actually watched the Raiders of the Lost Ark last weekend because they only knew Indiana Jones from like Fortnite, which was kind of like, no, we need to go back and actually do the right things. And so they, of course, watched that and they wanted the sets beforehand, and now they actually know what they're meaning. It's like, no, we really want them. So,
right.
And then Kerry, it's great to have you in relatively early. So, what are we looking at doing?
So I have just finished building the Leah brickhead, which I started on my stream. So there's Leah, which I don't think. I thought she was my favourite when Greg built it, but I don't. I think R2D2 is my favourite now. He's so cute. Everybody else said Wicket, but R2D2 is my favourite.
My favourite ones are those. Did you see the ones that Sam built on his channel?
No, which ones did he do?
So he built those, but he built them without any instructions. So he just like looked at the box.
No, he did it without looking at the box.
Oh, no, but he
without
looked at his box to start with, and then he just threw the box away. And he made some hilarious brickheads. They were really funny.
But now I'm going to go on to starting or carrying on with building the stand for the maze that I've done.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
I've run out of brown bits. Yeah.
That looks really cool.
Right, so do you like that steps or that steps? That's the question.
I think the fully enclosed ones on the right.
This one. Yeah.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, so I'm going to change that one, but this is a bit messy here. So I need, obviously it's one who's got the wrong colour in, but I need to just change that. Right, so here it's a bit messy, so I just need to do something there. I'm not sure what though, at the minute.
Maybe just turn that corner plate so it's got the curved bit on the edge. Instead.
No, that bit's not that. I'll find out. This bit here is not correct. It's not a big enough piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work it out. And then I need to attach it to my maze.
And do you tend to tile off things like that, Kerry, when you're building, or do you leave things with studs for?
So this one, I'm going to tile some of it off. But the maze itself is not tiled off at all because it's supposed to represent like hedgework and stuff. Showing the maze. Wait a minute. I can pick it up. Oh my god! Right. Just killed Baby Yoda. So that bit there is not tiled off at all. That's
very good.
I've left that studilicious.
That's amazing.
I might tile the front off. We'll see. So I think if I tile that off, which is going to go there. Oh my god, camera! So it's going to go there. It's going to look a bit weird if I tile it off. So I'm going to tile some of the seating bit off, but I'm going to leave the studs as they are. Just so I can attach lots and lots of minifigs.
Do you find as well, Kerry, that it's a mock that you can just get lost in?
If it's say that again, sorry, Trevor.
Do you find it's a mock that you can just lose yourself in?
Oh, Trevor, you're not. I'll tell you what I did do though. I started on that last week one day, and then I heard the front door go, and the hubby was coming back from work, and I didn't realise I'd not eaten, had not moved, and it was like 8 o'clock already, and I was like, oh my god, where are the cats? And I've forgotten to feed the cats and everything. So yes, I do get lost in the mocks sometimes.
Doing it, yeah. Excellent. Well, that's certainly coming along. And John, given that we've only got about 2 hours, is there anything that you can actually?
I've not really been building anything. I'm sort of planning to pull out the parts to build some more bits for the castle. So I was kind of half thinking I've got a spreadsheet up on a screen here, which I was thinking I might just sit and pull out some parts. But I've kind of been noodling away. I've shown this a couple of times on screen, but I've sort of been noodling away with this little thing, and it's quite interesting seeing what other little shapes and structures you can get into something with the sort of hexagonal pack. And they're quite sort of robust. So as you sort of poke one in from one side, you can sort of see, and it still sort of holds itself in place. So I'm playing with some ideas. These will be landing pads for spaceships and things in the moon base. So just trying to play out with writing and stuff on there. But that's my kind of project for the evening. But other than that, it's getting ready for our next meetup. Face-to-face in London, so that's the other thing I'm kind of working on.
The other sort of thing, and how obviously in general had Richard sort of started the group about 10 years ago, and he'd sort of wanted to sort of step back from it, but then COVID sort of hit, so he's remained doing it for a while, and then sort of stepped back now and handed it over to sort of John and a few of the others who sort of volunteering on various things.
Yeah,
so how are you finding it so far?
Yeah, so far so good. Richard started it literally just over a decade ago. We've just had our 10-year anniversary about 2 weeks back, and it was originally half a dozen people in a pub, in an upstairs room in a pub in London. By the time I found out such a thing as adults meeting in public on a regular basis was a thing, it had been running for about 6 months at that point, and I don't even know how I came to find it. I don't know whether I went looking for it or whether it found me at some point, but I turned up to this group of regulars. I'd been a member of Brickish for a while, so I've always been kind of in the Lego community, but not that active beforehand. And a decade back, there wasn't as much stuff going online as there is now. And this was quite a nice little sort of social outlet. And I turned up for one meeting, was then away for work for the next one. So I then wasn't there for a month, and then came back, and then I've been at most of them ever since, and to the point where I've been doing more and more of the stuff in the background over the years anyway. And yeah, as you said, Matt, Richard had been doing it for 8 years and decided that was about time to step down and stop spending as much time doing admin and actually spend a bit more time doing Lego. And then COVID happened and we lost our venue, and so he very selflessly carried on organising us and running things for a bit. And then he let me know a month or so ago that it's time, he's had enough. So it's been a bit of a handover process, and there's onboarding things with Lego, because we've got that ambassador kind of arrangement with Lego. So taking over those bits and passing on messages and dealing with annual memberships and all of the bits that all crop up at the same time, while also just getting rid of this year's lug bulk and ordering next year's project support. So it's been a bit of a crazy one, which was why it was quite a nice, relaxing thing to suddenly find myself losing 8 hours just non-stop building this thing a couple of weeks ago. Because it's like, I'm actually going to do something with some actual Lego instead of just Lego-related admin. So there's been a lot of admin. But if anyone is in London, you are welcome to join us.
I'm in London
Sorry, Matt, go on.
The only thing I've noticed over is with Richard.
It's good. There's a lot of. I think you're lagging again, Matt. So indeed, there's a lot of online Lego communities, but London AFOL was a nice one because we're concentrated in London. There's enough of a population there to actually maintain a social, face-to-face meetup. We generally meet the second Monday of every month. So if you're ever in the area, search us out on meetup.com or just look for londonafols.co.uk, and do feel free to come along and join us. So maybe one of you will take over from me in a decade when I'm worn out and tired. Hopefully you're back, Matt. I can still see you lagging a little bit on the video, but
is everything else absolutely freezing?
I've never noticed if you exit whether that kills the whole stream or if you guys still remain.
So I think we might have had a miscommunication there, because I think, Kerry, did you mean freezing as in cold?
Yeah, freezing.
I know it would be quite nice to get this fleece off, but I don't want to turn the heating on because it's April now, it's nearly May. I shouldn't have the heating on, but when you turn around and see the thermometer that says like 8 degrees, and you think it's probably I probably could have an excuse.
Finished as well last month, didn't it? So the old penny that you gave to everybody. It's like, my bills
we had
£70.
We had to scrape ice off the car the other morning. You shouldn't be doing that at this time of year.
Definitely not in April, no. That's wrong.
And then in the summer we'll have one of those awful heat waves again, won't we?
Yeah. Yay!
I wonder whether we've got anyone in the audience today that's from somewhere that's in the middle of their winter and full of snow, or 100 degrees at the moment in Texas or something. But we do as cold or warm as it gets in the UK. We can't really complain.
Yeah, we can.
True.
Well, we can. Yeah. Okay, we have less reason to complain than a lot of places. But it wouldn't be a British conversation without some complaints about the weather.
I work with.
Don't work when it's cold though.
Fingerless gloves?
Yeah, maybe.
I work with quite a lot of Texans, and seeing what happens to them when it gets cold, it's just crazy. They had trees just shattering.
What?
It was,
How's
yeah,
that a
the
thing?
trees completely froze. It got so brittle that then they would shatter. So they went round the city cutting down trees as precautionary measures.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're a bit nesh in the UK.
Was it Spain today had one of their hottest days?
I think Spain has had is it the hottest March on record?
Yeah.
We were out in Spain. It was quite nice.
It was pleasant. It wasn't too hot. It was just right. It was quite warm, but not warm enough to heat the pool.
Yeah.
Oh, I just actually checked. So London, it's 19 degrees tomorrow in London.
Yeah, that's smog working for you.
Do I take shorts with me?
Is it a geocaching event you're at?
Yeah, it's called London Calling.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Greg's told me to take pictures.
Have we completely lost Matt?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we might have lost Matt for a bit, but is anyone else building anything they want to show off in the tiny camera mode while we haven't got Matt to full screen us?
No, literally just destroying Lego.
I think the internet's not playing ball this week, is it?
No.
Weather, that's what it is. It's
Been a bit of a pain.
Unacceptable internet.
What are you building, Matt?
I'm trying to build the little minifigure from the mini tribute from the Lego house. So at least everything lined up for it.
That box, then.
Well, I've got to try to milk it as much as possible, but it's got down the side. Probably can't see it.
I just saw it as you turned.
Damage from where it's been. So, but trying to get that back and everything else, and having limited space to do things. So,
how many did they let you pick up, or did you just go for it?
It was a limit of one per household, so one.
That's Steve John's fault for picking up like 10 a day.
So the secret is what you do is you arrive at the Lego house. The first thing you do is you instantly go straight into the shop, and then you go in again at the end of the day once they've had a shift change and buy another one.
Interesting.
Yeah, that probably would have been the smart thing to do, but
when
you're traveling with kids.
But how do they tell that you are one household? It's just, you could just pretend that you don't know your wife, like this woman, I've never seen her, and these little guys, never seen them either. It's
these aren't my kids.
Unfortunately, my kids are not sophisticated enough to be lying, so they'd be like, "Oh, hi, Daddy," blah 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 blah. Remember, you just let them.
That's it. Just say that she's your mistress. She's not your household at home. That's your mistress. She lives in a different house, therefore she's allowed to get a second one.
Right.
I found myself randomly adopted by a German family in Legoland in Germany a few years back. In their store, I don't know whether anyone's ever been to the Legoland store in like the actual Lego shop in Legoland in Germany, but there's a factory there. So the parts selection there, if you've never looked at it, look up on YouTube for Legoland Germany Pick-a-Brick, and imagine your normal Lego Pick-a-Brick shop. Now multiply that by about 15. And that's the kind of selection that they've got, and it's all done by weight. So occasionally, and it's quite expensive. It's €90 per kilo. So it's maybe twice the price of a standard pick-a-brick wall into that kind of region. But because it's by weight, occasionally they'll have things like recently they had the cheese wedges with the cheese printing from the CMF series were available by weight. And they're like 25p each if you get them on Bricklink. I don't know how much they are now. They're probably a lot cheaper because they've been in the German pick a brick wall, so that will lower the international price. But when you can go in there and get them, but what they will do is they will apply a limit of 100 grams on certain of the items. And I was trying to buy a bunch of bits, and I was chatting to this German guy who was there with his family, and I was just chatting, and I sort of said to him, "Oh, it's a shame because there's a few bits here that I'd buy more if they let me." And he said, "Well, my wife and kids are here. They'll just buy the bits for you and we can sort it out afterwards." So I was like, I didn't even ask for it. And all of a sudden I've got like 500 grams worth of whatever part it was I was looking for. And then suddenly had the problem of, I haven't really got luggage space for this. So my flight home was all of my clothes and things. I had to wear most of them and shove the rest of them in my pockets because the rest of my luggage was just Lego from this pick a brick wall. But yeah, but if you've never been there, it's worth it. It's worth a trip. And they had a little like tent out the back as well when I was there, which was selling off like even cheaper Lego that was mixed stuff that had been left over from something. So that was 30 euros per kilo, and then they had some more bits that were 15 euros per kilo. So by the time you kind of did that, there was some good little deals to be had. But I had a couple of days out there, and I spent most of one day just sat on the edge of a giant bin that was probably 400 or 500 litres in terms of size, just literally full of Lego, just picking out the bits from it, just mixed Lego, just picking out blue and grey bits that I needed for a spaceship. And I was just sitting there with my headphones on, listening to an audiobook, just doing that for hours. But yeah, it was, I think when I went there with the times for flights and things, it meant I could either have not quite a whole day or basically 2 whole days, and it was pretty much the same price. And it's like, yeah, to not have a whole day and have a really long, crazy non-stop thing, it's like, well, I might as well just have a second day there. And I'd bought an annual ticket that year for there, because it also got me in half price at Legoland in Germany and half price in Windsor, free. I think it was free in Denmark and half price in Germany and free in Windsor or something. But so it's like, well, I've got 2 days anyway if I want them. But yeah, it was that was good. But yeah, the shop is an experience. It's worth going for. It's the best Legoland anywhere just because of that shop.
Germany? That's
in
amazing.
Germany. Yeah, and if you want to do it, so they've only just fairly recently opened a shop in Stuttgart, and you can get direct flights to Stuttgart. And if you don't drive, there is a post bus that goes from Stuttgart and drops you off literally outside the front door of Legoland. And that bus fare when I did it was like €4.
Yeah.
It's a 45-minute journey, 45-minute drive, and I think that was €4. And then Ryanair flights from Stansted were like €15 or something, and so it was a cheap trip. But yeah, it's a good one.
That's amazing.
Just out of curiosity, Nicole, how far away do you live? You live from Stuttgart?
Oh, on the other side of the country, unfortunately. But I have now the it's called Deutschland ticket. It's a German ticket for €49. Now I'm allowed to go by train the whole country.
Oh, that's cool. They should do that here.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
They should do that here. I've got a train journey just halfway up our country that's more than the cost of that for a single journey. So I was looking at going to the Brickish Sort Fest for sorting out their lug bulk, and just to do that journey will be 5 hours each way on the train, and it was £142 for that train journey. So
yeah, I really want to do Sort Fest. It sounds like fun, but it's so far.
They are good fun. Yeah, they are good fun. Well, you join London AFOLs, and then you can come to just outside London for the London AFOLs one in future. So,
which side of just outside London?
Dartford direction.
So above or below?
So southeast.
Yeah.
If you know the M25, we're kind of on that right hand side basically of London. If you look at it on a map, we're just kind of just down there. So it's about an hour's train journey outside of London, which is sort of £12 on the train from London rather than £140 up to Huddersfield. I think for the British one. Yeah. So, but yeah, also the wrong side for some people.
Because the British one used to be further south, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then they had to move it up north because the order was just getting too big for them to handle.
yeah, again, I think it's one of those things. The person that was organising the British one did it for years, and it was just a case of just want to get the living room back for that weekend every year, because it was 2 solid days in somebody's house, and it sort of takes over your life.
Yeah.
It's I can attest to that. I did the first 1 or 2 in my house here, and by the time you got 12 people in there, if it's the summer and the heat was absolutely hideous, it was just sort of, somebody brought a portable aircon unit, which was a lifesaver. But when there's 12 people in a fairly small room, it's not great. So I hire our local church hall now, and we take over that for a day, get some pizzas in, and it's a good day. It's mad. You're just sitting there counting bricks, but it's a nice, fun little social thing. And during COVID, it was interesting, because that was like the first meetup that we'd actually had face to face in COVID. Somebody turned up, which was quite amusing. Somebody turned up in a full World War II gas mask. Which I think was really just for the effect of just walking around the corner and like, whoa, what's this?
But it sounds amazing. Just the notion of sitting in a church, sorting bricks, eating pizza.
What more do you need?
I mean, surely you don't eat the eating pizza and the sorting bricks at the same time. Otherwise, you'd have pizzeria bricks.
Right.
Yeah, I when the castle project bits turned up last year, that didn't turn up till December, so it was kind of right into that busy period, right before all your Christmas parties and things are happening. And somebody asked the question earlier of, do you sleep? And the answer that week that it turned up, I sort of thought, well, I'll sort a couple of bits. I'll sort a couple of the big awkward lots, and then see if I can hire the hall again, get people over. But it was right in that Christmas period. The hall was busy, everyone else was busy, and I ended up just turning off my laptop for work at sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock each evening, and I was just sorting till like 1 o'clock in the morning for a week solidly, and just sorted just shy of 300,000 bricks myself in a week, and counted them. But it was sort of quite nice to just suddenly go to everyone, hey, by the way, folks, it's done. When do you want your bits? And it's been a long-term project, but I have had a big sea of parts for this castle just covering my living room floor for many months as I build bits and iterate on them. But yeah, it's all for the love of the brick. It's all for the fun of it. But it's such a social thing. It's weird. I've been to a few sort of fests for Brickish, and then organising them for London AFOLs, and it's you're sitting there, you're concentrating as much as you need to like count to 25, and then look at numbers on a set of scales, and then you count the next brick out, and then sort them into order for everybody. And it's a bit of a tedious thing, but yeah, it's the social aspect. I think we had 19 of us has been the most we've had, but generally we get between sort of 15 to 19 has been the sort of normal number, 12 as a minimum. And it's quite nice to just spend 8 hours with people that you normally only get to talk to for 20 minutes in a pub here or there, because you're milling around chatting to other people, or people that are just a name and some characters on the other end of a keyboard, in the month between the face-to-face events. So yeah, it's quite nice to actually, see some human beings face-to-face, especially during COVID. It was a nice little outlet for a lot of people that could get out, but I recommend it.
I have just experienced brittle brown disease. I am not happy.
Oh no.
Oh.
I had 2 of those as well. Oh, so annoying.
It's when you're dismantling sets. Yeah, I bought the mini Minecraft sets, the little micro scale Minecraft sets that came out years ago, and for several years they were my parts pack. Whenever I needed a 1x2 or 1x1 tile or plate, there was a decent chance it was going to be in one of those sets. So I was cannibalizing parts from them for ages. Whenever I was building something else and just needed one, it's like, oh, I know where there'll be one of those. And I think I got to the part where I'd probably got about 25% of those sets had been incorporated into other models, and I thought, right, it's time that I dismantle them. And when I took them to pieces, so many of the brown bits just fell apart in my hands. It was just that perfect period of when they were built, and as I was just pulling them off, they were just like shattered into.
Yeah, I sold my Ewok village, and I said, I'll sell it as it is. You can, £250. You can dismantle it. It's like, no, I want you to dismantle it. I'm like that. Oh, please don't make me. It was fine though. Nothing broke on it. But I was yes, it was butt clinching at the time. I was doing that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody on stream was dismantling a UCS what's the Star Wars one? Boba Fett Slave, and that had quite a number of them on there, and they just were cracking all the brown ones, and it's just like, and they were like the curved ones.
That one's. I'm going to sell mine, but I'm scared of breaking that down as well.
Yeah. No, and then I think shortly thereafter, I think Ryan was then starting to break his down, and yeah, he did like the first 2 bits, and they both broke, and it's like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
I went to my supply of snot bricks in a drawer, and I think I'd got the little 1x1 reddish brown snot bricks with studs on one side or both sides, I can't remember, but I only had 4 of them, and I needed 2 of them for a build, and as I was building with them, 3 of them just shattered. And it's like, I only needed 2 of them and I had 4. That should have been enough to build it. And in the end, I managed to hide one of them kind of in there. So one of the models I've built recently has a broken piece in there because, well, too bad. That's there now. Little bits just falling on.
So is one of my models as well. It's got a broken piece in there. It's brown. And I think it's like a 1x10, and I did not have a second one. I might like to stay in there. It's fine. That's in my Great Hall. Hi, Simon. Is Simon here? Simon O'Connor here. Is my chat screen?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Simon.
Yes.
Good to see you around. Long time.
My chat screen.
Hoping you're doing well.
Yeah, it's just right, I think.
My chat is frozen. It's not. There's nothing there. Let me just disappear out and come back in.
If you switch from like top chat to.
Yeah, I'm sure I've not done that mistake this time.
Yeah. So.
Why are you ignoring me? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
Broken a leaf piece. So sad. What do you do when you've broken a leaf piece off? Do you take it right off or leave it flappy?
I don't know.
Leaf pieces are kind of organic, aren't they? You know, they probably would break in reality, so they kind of feel like maybe an exception.
Should I continue, like break it? So this piece here sort of flaps now. Should I leave it so it's flapping but still looks right, or do I take it right off?
Leave it flapping, I'd say, if it's there. If it disappears by itself at some later point.
Did it fall off by itself?
No, I think I dropped the whole piece on the floor.
Oh, okay. You missed the bag.
I missed the bag, yeah.
Somebody had an amazing tree years ago that relied on the old flower pieces, the pink, white, you know, the different flower pieces that would come 4 of them on a sprue, the 4 little tiny petals on that central sprue. And somebody had made a fantastic little tree which used the little plant stems with the three sticking up stems, wedged into one of the flower petals still on the sprue, and then connected to another flower petal on a different sprue, and then another one on a different one, and used it to create an outer kind of dome of pieces just connected by parts still connected to the sprues. So such a sort of delicate thing, but the second one of them breaks, and there's only a limited supply now of those old flower pieces left in the world that A, exist, and B, still on the sprue. So I managed to pick up a few of them before they disappeared when they were in pick-a-brick walls, so I've probably got enough to make like one of those blossom trees at some point, but I think that's probably like number 2 or 3 on my list of models on my sheet of things that I'll probably never get round to. I think I've built 3 things on that list of about 20 things in the last 5 years, and then I keep on just getting distracted. And Matt,
your list keeps on growing as well.
The list is definitely growing quicker than I'm building stuff off of it. One of the things that I actually did build off of it was the penguin slide, which Matt put in that little intro video. I don't know whether anyone had one of those when they were a kid, but you press a button and it raises the step and the penguin slides down, and then you press the button again and it raises the step and the penguin slides down. And somebody in our lug bulk, one of our German members actually, wanted 60 Duplo penguins to make a large display. So our lug bulk, it's sort of quite a democratic process with London AFOLs, the way that we actually organise which parts we're going to order. All of our regular members, if you join in, you get to make your choice of a part. And unless it's some really bad value part, there's really no saying no to you. It's fine, even if it's a weird thing like a Duplo penguin. And in the end, everyone was like, why are we buying Duplo penguins? No one's going to want them. And this one person wanted 60 of them for a model that she was going to build. So it's like, well, look, she's after 60 of them. It pays for itself. The value wise, it's worth it, because I don't think there were 60 of them for sale on Bricklink at the time. So it's like, this is the only way you can realistically get these penguins. And in the end, as a group, we bought about 150 of them. So quite a lot of people ended up buying Duplo penguins, and I bought a dozen or so of them, thinking I could make a penguin slide out of these, but they're too lightweight. And in the end, I realised that the Lego Mindstorms Technic set, there was an education expansion set thing for it, which included 2 little ball bearings in a little cup holder. And these ball bearings are just about the perfect size to shove up a penguin's bottom. And it almost makes it like a Weeble penguin. So you can literally just push the ball bearing up inside a Duplo penguin, and it meant that it was just bottom heavy enough that these things would slide down a rail. So and that, to your point earlier, where do I get the inspiration? The inspiration was, hey, somebody's ordering Duplo penguins. And in the end, I built this this thing that, no, it's upside down, but I had it at a show in London, and then decided that I would rebuild it and make a sort of slightly larger version. I made the larger version, and as you turn the stairs, each sort of successive set of stairs goes up when the other one goes down, and the penguin slides. I can't actually find the penguins, otherwise I would demo it, but they're tucked away. But yeah, I built a larger version that was about 5 feet tall, but I've really struggled to actually get a down track that would work. And the problem with the penguins is you'd think they would all be the same, but just the microscopic little molding differences, or the microscopic precision of where the ball bearing was placed, meant that the friction on some of the penguins' feet was just slightly different to some of the others. So some of them slid down the path so fast they'd fly off at the corner, launching a steel ball bearing down the corridor, and some of them would stop part way because they weren't going quite fast enough. And I haven't quite solved that problem. So at the moment, this is one of my projects where I ticked it off on the list, wanted to build a bigger one, but for now it's back to just being a spare part in a shelf until I either build the rest of it or eventually get round to remaking it if I find a way of making a nice downward slide.
I don't know if anyone else is wondering, but what did she need 60 penguins for? Like, what was she intending to do?
I don't know that she ever actually built it. I never actually saw the model that it was for, but it was going to be a big, like, Antarctic scene with these penguins. But yeah, I never actually saw it built. But
the lady on our love bulk has ordered 200 bats.
That's a lot of bats.
Yeah. So,
fair enough. There's been a few things like that where you look at it and you go, what are you going to do with? Yeah.
Somebody chose a light bluish grey mortar brick on our love bulk this year, so they probably should have been told to not do that. But anyway.
What was the brick?
A light bluish grey masonry brick. You know, the one that you can get on the pick-a-brick walls right now.
Fair enough. So what I actually do with our lug bulk is I actually go down and kind of sanitize and sense check the list before placing the order. Yeah. So you can only order 85 bricks, 85 different elements from lug bulk.
Yeah,
but
we've got 81, I think.
we normally I don't think we've had less than 90 in a year. Because every year what happens is we end up with the 85. I realise that 5 of them are available on the pick-a-brick wall, so I end up going and buying them from the pick-a-brick wall, taking them off the Lego order, and then I supply them that way. And then people get more to choose from. They're happy doing it because I'm near a pick-a-brick wall, so I can go down and grab them. But we normally end up doing that. But it's like, how do we manage this? For the moon base, we're doing the project support, and you can get 150 parts via project support. And our list included 170 different items, because 20 of the parts that were needed were actually common enough parts that were available from the pick-a-brick, or a couple of the parts we only needed like 40 of something, and I had those on my desk anyway from something else. So there was a couple of
dirt bricks, burps and lurps. I was like, saw them and I thought, right, that's what I need.
they're always useful. They're always useful. I have plans, like probably a lot of people do, that at some point I might build a big Lego city, and I don't know where I'm going to put it. I'll have to like put my bed in the garden or something and just turn my bedroom into a Lego city because I've run out of space. So
if you just don't have kids, then you can use the spare bedroom. Or cats. Get out. I've just literally got up to lean over to get a part and then sat back down on my cat because he's jumped on the chair. What are you doing? What's this? No. Looking for airbands because he's obsessed.
Where'd you store everything, John? I mean, have you got room to work or to store all your pieces?
Yeah, I've got a spare room which has been converted into the Lego room, so I've got Lego storage in there, and that's kind of taken over that room basically. So I've got a load of really useful box scrapbook storage drawers. So each one of those is 9.5 litre storage drawers, and I've kind of got those across a couple of walls. And then I finally sort of upgraded to individual little tubs for parts. So that way I can move bits around. So when Lego brings out a new plate modified that won't fit in, I can shift drawers along a drawer, open up a slot, and then fit that inside the whole drawer without having to rearrange all the contents. I think a bunch of you have probably seen there's a Lego, the evolution of a legofan storage. It's a text document that I think somebody wrote in like 2002, and I think it's been kicking around the internet for like 20 odd years, and it's 31 different stages, which is the average Lego fan starts off with just a small box with all their Lego in it.
Yeah.
And they just keep it in the original box it came in, and then they get a slightly bigger box to put the bits in, and it's not sorted at all, and then they get a bigger one, but they pull out the larger pieces, and then it's a bigger one, and they start sorting by, and eventually you get to the point where I am now, which is I sort everything by part and by color and in alphabetical order as they appear on Bricklink.
Wow.
So it's a lot of time, but it means that it's quite handy, because if I go to my slopes curved section, I can then look in that section, and if it isn't there, I know where I'm going on Bricklink to find it, because I'm already in the slopes curved section. So it kind of makes it simple. But yeah, my memory wasn't good enough to keep track of it, so I've also ended up with a spreadsheet sort of that I built just to keep a track, to say, right, it's in the back room, and I've got some overflow storage as well in some really useful boxes for like bulk parts that just get put into a bag, and then if there's too many of them to fit in a small little tub, there'll be like a few in that tub, and then there'll be a Ziploc bag somewhere, which in theory should be in storage, but at the moment I've kind of run out of storage space, so they're sort of on my living room floor right now, because there's bits left over from the castle, but I need to hurry up and build them into a castle, and then they won't take up as much space. It's a bit more compact once you've built things out of it. The other place I store my bricks, actually, I don't know whether you can see, but so behind me you can see the Superstar Destroyer, the Executor, on the wall there.
Yes.
And then just underneath it, when that message goes, you'll see just slightly down, you can see my fireplace. That was in terms of the question around the inspiration for where do you get your inspiration to build things. Well, that one was because when I moved into this house, the fireplace, I didn't realize quite what state it was in. And I leant on it one day and sort of knocked one of the bricks of the fireplace out of the fireplace with my elbow, and realised that it really wasn't safe. So I had to kind of dismantle it, and I ended up just with a big hole in the wall. And I thought, right, I need to just go and get a bit of MDF or something, just a bit of chipboard or something to cover it over until I can get a new fireplace. And I thought that requires a trip to the hardware shop. I've got 4,000 grey bricks in the loft. I can just cover it up with Lego, and I had like a bright orange.
Lego.
The whole thing is the whole thing is Lego, and so it's 162 studs wide by 91 bricks high. The mantelpiece is 10 studs deep, and initially version 1 of it was just a bright orange fire, because all I had was grey bricks and orange. And if somebody told you it was a fire, you'd go, yeah, okay, I believe you. but yeah, you can't really see it. There's sort of stuff in the way with the camera, but there's logs at the bottom of it, and I took a trip down to the Blue Water shop the next day when they opened and bought some different colour bits and made and there's a version 3 that's kind of been planned for a long time, but again, it's one of those things that's been on my list because I've slowly been collecting trans red, trans yellow, and trans orange pieces to actually make a backlit fireplace that will kind of flicker and glow at some point. I've almost got enough bits over the years, so that's currently where a bunch of my grey bricks are stored, is in that fireplace. And that was actually an interesting demonstration of the tolerances of Lego, because where the fireplace is, it's kind of the floor slightly slopes underneath it. It's an old Victorian house, so the floor sort of slightly slopes, curves down a little bit. So the fireplace is actually only supported on each end and not in the middle. So what that meant was the bricks had a natural tendency to kind of compress. So all of those microscopic little gaps between the bricks were all sort of compressed. So when I went to attach the mantelpiece, which is a couple of layers of plates and then a layer of tiles, the mantelpiece was actually one stud longer than the bricks themselves, despite being the same number of bricks. Just because the bricks, over 162 studs, they'd compressed the entire width of an entire brick, an entire like 8 millimeters out. And in the end, what I had to do was attach each end of the mantelpiece, and it curved up in a kind of like rainbow, a sort of bow right above it. Sort of attach both ends and sort of push towards the middle, and you could hear it creaking as it sort of then eventually flattened down. And it's quite good because it's held together absolutely solidly and just kind of stayed put. But the other thing I've got is actually tan brick storage. So the Billy bookcase just to the side there, where you can see the Millennium Falcon, that's in a black Lego brick cabinet. So the black background for it is also Lego bricks, and they've got black Technic 1x2 bricks in there as well, with trans clear antenna pieces poked through from the back, with Christmas lights behind it. So the trans clear pieces act as fibre optic stars to kind of light up. It doesn't come out on camera, unfortunately, but it's quite fun when you see it in person. And so
that's so cool.
That stores a bunch of my black pieces, so that's quite a useful place for back bits. And then the Billy bookcase that's next to it is one of their 20 centimetre wide ones. So I've got the 80 centimetre wide are the standard ones, and then there's a 20 centimetre wide one next to it. Except it actually isn't, because I'm lying, because the gap there that it's in is only 99.5 centimetres. So that thin Billy bookcase is actually just tan Lego bricks.
No way. Wow.
So instead of £19.99 for a 20 centimetre wide Billy bookcase, which I could have cut down with a circular saw to make it 19.5 centimetres, there's about 250 quid's worth of tan bricks, which took me one Saturday taking a trip to 3 Lego stores in London and the Blue Water one with a giant rucksack. I spent the entire day just packing tan 2x4 bricks into pick-a-brick cups.
I hope you watched Kerry's video on how to pack your cups.
I watched one years ago. I think it was a dad and I think his little daughter. There was a video online like that. That one was the one that came up if you said like pick a brick packing strategy or something, and you could get 169 2x4 bricks so it was that one that I used at that point. But I also used the tactic. So 2 of the stores at that point back in the day, they would actually sell you whole boxes. So some stores would just sell you whole boxes for the price of 4 large cups, and then depending on the part, that was good value, and sometimes it was even better value because some parts you'd get 5 cups worth, some would be 7 cups worth. And then they actually changed it and started charging the price of 5 large cups. And then I think 2014, 2014, I think they did away with that, and none of the stores will do that anymore. But one of the stores did accept my alternative plan, which was I went in there, I packed 1 cup. I think at that point I was able to pack a cup in about 12-13 minutes. I'd got this down to I counted all the numbers, I knew the layers, I was getting quite efficient at it. But I went into that store and said, look, this is what I'm doing. It's going to take me 12 or 13 minutes to pack them. I need about 10 cups worth from you. You can either have me stood here for 2 hours, or you can just accept that 2 handfuls of bricks is 169 bricks. I'm just going to put 10 piles of them. You can just sell me the piles and we'll call them cups. And then I'll be out of here and you can get more space for another customer. And one of the stores said, yeah, all right. So it's always worth asking. I didn't have to bother standing there for hours packing them.
Oh, mine is let you stand there.
But I did stand in the Blue Water store about a week ago, one evening last week, and was there for about 3 hours packing the new boxes because we're trialing Berlin and Blue Water are the two stores that are trialing those. Yeah. So I did stand there for about 3 hours. I had one member of staff I roped in to just stand there stacking bricks for me for about 2 hours as well. So
what's your view on the boxes, John?
So yeah, I'll grab them.
Sorry, Matt, I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I do. I ended up with 9 of. I ended up buying 9 of them because it was enough to get the gift with purchase levels, and it was like I've kind of come this far, I might as well carry on. And it was bits that we needed for the moon base that we're building, and so it's like, right, I'll do this. So my view is that it looks good for the environment, although my question is, how many times are these actually going to be reusable before they start collapsing? These ones are already getting a bit, they're starting to get the feel of being a bit less strong. They're a bit weaker at the seams after just being reused a couple of times.
Yeah, good
compared to a plastic cup that you can reuse indefinitely. So actually, in terms of environmental benefit, I don't know that there is one. We should say, for an AFOL who reuses cups, that is. For the average kid who throws the cup away when they get home, they might as well go cardboard. So from that side of it, it's probably an average benefit, which is fine. The one thing that is slightly annoying is the size of it. They've kind of like somebody at Lego has gone, prime numbers, let's go with those for the multiples of the sizes, because they'll never be able to pack stuff neatly in there if we do that. So it's like 11.7 studs deep. Why not just make it 12? And it's 21 studs long, 21 and a bit studs long. Why not just make it 22 or 20 or something? And so, but yeah, what I have discovered, probably a secret I shouldn't say in public, is the flap on the top of it has a crease line. So you're supposed to like the little flappy bit that you fold in to keep it in place. But if you actually bend that flap, instead of at the crease line, bend it halfway between the crease line and the edge, so the flap is only half the depth. It means you can basically wedge 12 rows of bricks inside instead of 11, and the lid will still close. So it kind of makes it good. The reason that I do like it and don't like it, I like it that if you have got 3 hours to stand there packing, you can get better value doing it this way than in the cups. And it's also an awful lot easier to actually pack these than it is to pack the cups efficiently, because you don't have to remember an algorithm of 3 in this row and 4 in that row and stack it and turn it and squeeze it and whatever else. So in that sense, it's better. The one thing I don't like about it is quite often with the cups, I would just go and scoop parts because I knew it was a pain in the backside to basically go and stand there for hours packing them and trying to get it perfect. And then you're almost there and it falls over and you have to start again and the bits move inside and then the lid doesn't close. And so from that side, I quite often would just go in and just scoop bits. I'd give them a good shake, and even just shaking parts, you get probably 10% better value, 15% better value just by shaking them down to pack better. Whereas these, because I know it is easy enough to pack them, I'm not really inclined to just scoop parts anymore. So I think it will actually potentially mean I will buy less Lego from Lego because I won't just go and scoop them, and I will pay less for it because I will get better value for the times that I do actually go and pack stuff. So I have a feeling that Lego may well be making a lot less money out of me, because I know it's good enough value if I can be bothered to do it. But realistically, it took me 3 hours of my time one evening in the week, and it took a member of staff. I literally had this one member of staff for 2 hours just packing cups with me. So she wasn't as efficient at packing them as I was after 3 hours because I'd got into a bit of a routine. But yeah, realistically, it takes half an hour to pack each cup. If you're looking, I was packing things from sort of 2x2 plates were about the smallest one that I was packing, up to 1x3 bricks. Those were the kind of main things that I was sort of packing in there. if it's just 2x6 bricks or 2x8 bricks, it wouldn't be so bad. It would be fairly quick to do. But with the smaller parts, and then I got to sort of 1x1 parts, it's like I'm not packing those. I'm just going to scoop them and give them a bit of a shape. And cheese wedges and things are just going to get shaken in there still. But yeah, that's the thing. So overall, if you're not buying millions of bits, then if you're just going to go and get a box and you've got half an hour, go and pack it. You'll get way more value for money. You're probably looking at least 60 to 70% extra for your money. If you add that up and do that on an hourly rate, so if you think maybe, let's say you bought two of these and it took you an hour to pack them, they're £15 each. You'd get the equivalent of a third one free, at least, probably slightly more than that. So the hourly rate that you're going to save is about £16 or £17. So in the UK, the minimum wage is what, £8? I could pay somebody minimum wage to go and pack cups for me, and I would still save money buying Lego. So it depends how young you get them. If you get like a young kid who's just left school, I think it's cheaper. So yeah, go for the child labour. It's always the way. So I've tried paying my nieces to sort my Lego for me, but they get bored too quickly, and it's like even the benefit of money isn't enough to overcome the boredom. But yeah, so in terms of the boxes, I think they're good. As I'm aware at the minute, the trial is just for April and then it will end, but they've spent 2.5 years working on this, so I don't think it's going away. They are currently trialing and working out the dispensers that are in the shops. So they're currently still trialing different versions of the boxes that the boxes come in. So how does the public know what they're supposed to do with it? They're kind of trialing those bits, but I think they're probably, a few months or a year or whatever away from these actually rolling out more widely. And then what Blue Water does is they actually stamp it with one of their little store stamps to indicate that you've bought it before, and then they will give a discount on reuse. So
remember, Matt, you need to get me a big box and a little box, please. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I think John's closer, so if he's got a spare one.
Oh yeah, so John, if you have a spare big box and little box, please send it my way, because I want to do some experiments and some videos.
I haven't bothered. The measurements are out there now, so you could sort of make one yourself as well. But
that's indeed true. Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's just the numbers are there.
I'll make a video though, so.
Yeah. Well, hit me up afterwards if you need one, and I'm heading back down there. I can send bits on, but yeah, I haven't bothered with the little ones as of yet. If you had one of the little ones, I believe they're the same size as the little ones that were given away as a gift with purchase about a decade ago. So they gave, when you made a purchase, one of the things they gave you was a calendar, and in with that calendar was an unfold, like a folded up box that you could then unfold. And I think it's exactly the same size as the little ones. So
are exactly half the big ones, aren't they, this time? As opposed to them faffing with the the big cup and the small cup, and not exactly half.
Yeah, there's a lot of maths going on there. It's and you can get slightly more volume in the big cups by not actually attaching the lid. If you have the lid just kind of floating, there's an extra 30 millilitres you can get by sort of not really putting the lid down. And
yeah, depending on which store you go to, mine can be quite strict, depending on who I get.
It's who you get, it's which store, it's all of those questions.
A couple of months back with one of the little 12-year-olds that worked there. It's like, I'm spending £500 and you won't let me have 4 1-5. Wait, it was 10 1x1 bricks. Come on. It's like, that is literally all I'm going to take out of this cup to make it fair. No, they wouldn't. And then they did get you speak to your manager, but I didn't. I thought, no.
Is it just the staff that they have, or why does it vary so much? You hear a lot of this from store to store. One store will help you, another store just won't.
You know what?
A lot of it comes down to the managers.
Yeah,
so we know that the Southampton store, it's really good. I was thinking, if you went into a Southampton store and said, on a weekday during weekday morning, you went in and you said, can I buy these rather than spending hours packing them? They'd say, no, you can spend the hours packing them because that gives them someone to talk to.
Yeah.
It's really quiet. So you can get away with a lot, but the manager's weird and has said that the pick a brick wall doesn't count towards gift with purchases.
Oh, they're lying.
Yeah, well, I've got an email from Lego now saying that's not true. So
The problem as well. So I think there's two problems, which are that some store managers are very AFOL friendly and will do that kind of thing to entice you back and will let you get away with stuff. Some of them will kind of chuck in an extra gift with purchase bag. I won't mention particular stores because I don't want to get them in trouble and stop them maybe doing it for me in future. But I've been to several stores across the country now over the years, and it's very, very different. And then some of them are afraid of breaking the rules. Sometimes you'll find a brand new manager who kind of doesn't know what they're allowed to do. And then the other problem is some store managers will suddenly disappear very suddenly because they've broken maybe one too many rules. And then that puts the scare out among the other ones. And then anything that you might have got away with is suddenly gone again. And then, as you say, I do know of a particular store. I won't mention names publicly, but I know of a store that discourages almost giving out the gift with purchases. So exactly the kind of thing, they won't include it in those bits because when the promotion is over, they then sell the remaining gift with purchases, which then goes towards their sales targets. So you can just walk in after the event has ended, buy the gift with purchase sets.
Cheeky.
Yeah.
Which makes commercial sense because actually there's an awful lot of people who'd love to just buy those gift with purchases, whether it's in the rules that they're allowed to do it, whether the other ones haven't I kind of hope that it is, but no one else has realised because I wouldn't want to get them in trouble. But like, it's also it's quite a benefit if you know that's a thing.
Well, it's definitely not Sheffield because they've never sold a gift with purchase. They just disappear off of the. They don't even. Very often they don't even give them out after the actual date. They'll just take them and store them somewhere and say, "Oh no."
Yeah. Some stores will give you a gift if you go in there on your birthday. It's just a thing they do, and some stores won't. What are you talking about?
Every day's your birthday. Oh, look, it's my birthday again. Oh, birthday.
You can just go and change the date of your birthday and the VIP. Changing it.
I went to the one in Sheffield on my birthday. I didn't get anything.
No, exactly. And then you hear that and you're like, a free gift for your birthday? What are you talking about? Yeah.
Sheffield can be very strict because they've got a new manager. She's only been there since when did she get it? I can't remember. She's really good. She's lovely, but she is new and she don't want to break any rules, which is fair enough.
Yeah, and I don't want them to be breaking rules and getting in trouble, but I actually just don't want the rules to be stupid. That's the thing. Like, if they made the rules sensible in the first place.
So we were talking to one of the employees at Southampton. And they were saying that they're annoyed that they're pretty much the only store in the country that doesn't have a menu for the pick a brick wall.
No, right. Sheffield doesn't have a menu.
Is it not? They most do, and that allows them to put things on which isn't on the wall. So there'll be stuff on that menu that is out back, and then go and get it for you. But the Southampton manager won't let them do that, and the Southampton manager is apparently now chasing to try and stop other stores from doing it.
And the craziest thing is, if there was one particular store in the country who actually could go to Lego senior sales for the country and say, hey, I've got an idea. If somebody could go and persuade them, they would make more money than every other store out there and they would smash their targets. If that one store not only had a menu, but A, kept it up to date, and B, posted it themselves every day to Instagram or somewhere. If you knew that these were the parts, and actually people would go to that store to get them, why would you bother going somewhere else? If you know that it's up to date because the staff have done it before they opened, it wouldn't even take them that long to just quickly go on there and do it. But they're too afraid to do it because they're not allowed to post on behalf of Lego. Which I can understand because, if they posted, hey, Lego Nazi sign or something, you can imagine. But just posting a picture of their wall, you'd kind of think Lego should allow that. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite seem to have filtered down.
But the only thing that they would need is an affiliate or a co-conspirator. Like
exactly, and I've tried to persuade some of the staff just to post it. Just while you're here, don't even tell anyone. You sort it out with the manager. You post it on there. No one else needs to know it's you. It can just be brick fan at whatever, and that can go.
There's definitely a couple of those on Facebook. There's a couple of names that I can and I'm thinking they definitely work for Lego.
So there's definitely some that do, and some of them do it on their off time, and that's great. But it's like, if this was actually a thing and you knew that the reliable one was Brickfan 1, you know, and you knew that you could go there, and unless they've literally sold out in the last 2 hours, fine. They could be ordering boxes of stuff through, because if people know they're there, they'll turn up.
Yeah.
Right.
And if Lego would also sell things by the box, again, like they used to, at a similar kind of value.
Yeah, some places will sell by the box. I've been told it's 6 cups for a box.
Yeah, 6
and
cups is what we
it
were
tends
told.
not to be good value unless it's a piece that doesn't stack.
That's the thing. It's when I used to do it, it used to be 4 cups per box. Then it went up to 5. Yeah, then it went up to 5, and I found that it was around 5.5 to 7 cups per box, depending on the part. And some boxes are really packed to the top, and some boxes are barely packed as well. And like 1x4 bricks were really good value, and 2x4 bricks were really bad value. So it's not even the parts you expect it to be sometimes.
No.
But yeah, I'm aware that there are some shops. I don't know a list of which ones will do it, but the official answer is no, that's not allowed again, and hasn't been since 2014. But again, if I knew that I could walk in, and even if it was reasonable value, you know, not as good as packing, but slightly better than just scooping them, I'd go in there and say, right, I want a box of these, a box of those, and a box of those. And they've just sold 12 cups worth for 0 effort. Rather than me stood there for hours, they could shift a lot more stock. They'd get a lot more people coming through. They'd get businesses that it would actually be worth the while of the business to come and do it, even if they did that at that level.
For me, I think, if I had something like that, I've got far too much Lego.
Yeah, I would definitely run out of storage space even quicker if that were the case. But so I'm kind of glad they don't. But yeah.
I have that problem already. No storage.
Yeah, but yeah, Lego on your birthday. I've just seen that comment come up. It's definitely worth mentioning it while you're there, and just hoping you might get lucky. They might chuck in an extra bit. It was a kid's birthday when I was stood there for 3 hours. This little kid had come in with his parents, and he got chucked about 4 different poly bags. It's like, here, have this and this and this because it's your birthday. I was like,
it's my birthday as well.
yeah. And yeah, how angry would you be to show up and AFOL beat you to the store and bought the good stuff? The thing is, it's quite often me that beats people to the store and buys the good stuff, but it's generally that I'm buying it because I'll put out a message to the London AFOLs to say, hey, I'm heading down to Bluewater. Does anybody want anything? And quite often I'll get a message to say, yeah, I want X, Y, and Z. So what I tend to do is I'll buy it. If I pack it or whatever, they get the value of it. I keep the VIP points and then sell it to them at cost price. So it's sort of everyone gets a reasonable deal out of it. It's probably not worth my time, but it also sometimes will get me to the level of a gift with purchase. It sometimes makes it worth it for that.
I'll tell you what, on the old manager, when he had new parts coming out, and because it's Sheffield lugs obviously there, it's the non-affiliated lug now. But they know when it's coming out. He would not put all the parts out and then say he's not got them until the lugs left.
That's
me. He didn't know I was in the lug one time. Yeah, it's me. He didn't know I was in the lug one time. And I was there, and like he went, "Have they all gone now?" I went, "Oh, I'll bring these out now." And I went, "Oh, okay." Got onto my phone. It's like you're selling it anyway, you know.
And it's a weird thing, isn't it? Because like if they can sell an entire box and get rid of them, it means they don't even have to have the effort of putting them out on display if you've bought them before they even go out.
Admittedly, there was a couple of people that were in there that they run shops, so
it's cheeky,
you know. Yeah.
But then actually you say it's cheeky, it's just supply and demand. If those people have got a shop and it means that someone else now gets that part, everyone's making money in the transaction. I don't see why people kind of object to that. I mean, it's annoying if you happen to be that little 10-year-old kid that just wants one of those little pieces and somebody's just bought the last 10,000. But like realistically, how often does that happen? And if that kid does just want that one, they could just go to that shop and buy it. So like the options there, it's not like there aren't other options. There's Bricklink, there's Lego bricks and pieces. I mean, I appreciate for that one instance, but in general, it means that more people get to buy the bits. Devil's advocate there for some, I'm sure, but
he's left now anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, and it's still on us. If someone really goes in there and buys loads of them and then goes to eBay or Bricklink, and if you know your stuff and you know, okay, if I had the chance to buy it from Lego and then see a seller on Bricklink and they want enormous money to make out of me, just don't buy it. And then they will sit on the stuff that they paid money for, and either lower the price or I'm stuck with it. So it's on us.
Yeah, and this is what happens with a lot of the German sellers, which is why quite often you will see there's a few German stores that have very high quantities of items quite cheap, because they've got them in bulk from either the Lego factory, or there are other avenues for German sellers who have access to Lego just across the border into Denmark as well. So the sellers at the north of Germany have access to get parts discounted in other ways.
Yeah.
I have heard stories from people in the know of opportunities to buy Lego at stupidly cheap prices from Lego, or even get given bits for free at times.
Wow,
like pallets full of Lego just chucked out, literally thrown away by Lego, and they've had a call to say, turn up if you want it.
No one calls me ever.
The best example was a phone call to somebody to say, we need to clear some space in the warehouse, so we're going to get the Lego. It's just going to go in the crusher. It's going to literally be just crushed and ground up. If you want any Lego, if you want to come and collect it, we're getting rid of it in 4 hours. So if you want to come and collect it, you can.
Wow.
It was 100 pallets worth that was just destroyed. They turned up with a couple of friends and took away an entire Ford Transit van just of free Lego.
Wow. That's really the right place.
This is the logistics. Yeah, this is the logistic. This is if you happen to be married to somebody that works for Lego or whatever, it's things like that happen. But Lego needed the space. Logistically, it made sense for them to literally just bin the stock, because it made more sense. They could make more money with that space by doing something else in the time they had. So this is the commerciality of large scale operations. Sometimes stuff that just doesn't make sense, but if you happen to live near there, you can get very lucky. But a lot of that stuff then ends up on Bricklink at a cheaper price. So a lot of the stuff that I've built would never have been built had it not been for the fact that there are some of those German sellers that have got bulk parts at a good price. So yeah, it's worked out well for me over the years as well.
Yeah, I always wondered this. One time I was looking on Brick, and you had one German seller had 10% of the world's sheep, Lego sheep. 20,000 out there, and they had 2,000 or 3,000. I always wondered, how did you get that?
And so my guess is that yes, it was because of one of those things. It was they had an overstock in a factory and needed to clear some space or something like that. Lego sheep, Lego animals are the kind of things you can actually buy just loose from the Legoland Germany store. So that store in Günzburg, you can just go in and just buy just a loose elephant or a
loose goat.
And not a loose goat, unfortunately. No, that would be.
You imagine?
I was watching somebody's video on YouTube the other day. I don't know who it was. Somebody here might know, but somebody had pointed out one of the lugs. I think they've got a goat as their mascot or something, and somebody in the lug had done some maths and realised they'd made a phone call and realised that for the price of one Lego goat, locally to them from a farm, you could actually buy 2 real goats for the same price of one Lego goat.
On that bombshell, I think I'm going to head off to bed. I will see you all next time, another time.
Take care, Kerry.
Have a good rest of the street.
Thanks for joining. 6 a.m.
Be good.
Catch a train to London.
Trust Ian as usual to give us the update.
I never trust Ian, but I have to.
What time is that? 1:58. That's getting clipped.
Yeah, so I normally get here late, but this time I'm going to have to leave a little bit earlier because I do need to get in the bath to warm up so I can actually sleep because I am freezing. And then go to bed to get up at 6 to get a train to London.
So it sounds like a lot of effort.
It is a lot of effort.
Is it really worth it?
It's one of those things where I'd forgotten that I was going because obviously I was there 2 weeks ago. until my friend last week was like, "You have got your tickets, haven't you?" I'm like, "For what?" And they were like, "For London Calling." I was like, "Oh no." Yeah, of course I have. So I've had to get a hotel room, get a train ticket, think about food. Yeah, I was looking at just going on Saturday morning and then coming back Saturday evening, and the morning train was at like 6:30. So there's no way I was getting up at like 4:30. It's not happening. So I don't live anywhere near the train station either. It's very annoying.
Yeah. So how long is your train journey into London?
Oh, it's about an hour and 50 minutes. It's not too. It's not.
Right.
I live in Doncaster, so it's straight down.
Yeah, long enough that it's annoying, but not the end of the world if you have to do it on a day. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We don't like travelling up north. That's a long journey for us.
I know it takes me about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, up to about 2 hours just to get into London for the London AFOLs meetup, because the trains are only every half an hour. So depending on the connections and things, it's
so whereabouts
it's fine
you
when
actually live?
So if you know the M25 around London, I live a few miles away from Dartford, so where the M25 crosses the river to the east of London. The train journey from where I live, it's 18 miles. It's 18 miles literally by train to London, and that takes an hour to do 18 miles.
In an hour and 45 minutes from Doncaster.
Yeah, I can head a few miles in the opposite direction, and then get a high-speed train from there back into London, which does 145 miles an hour, or I can go on my local line, which averages 18 miles an hour.
Yeah,
but the one that's 10 times the speed is also 3 times the price.
Yeah.
And I also have to head in the wrong direction and then wait there for 20 minutes for the connection. So it only saves me 2 minutes off of my journey for 3 times the price and more effort, because I have to get on and off of trains and stand at, whereas I can just get on the slow train and just sit there and then it's about a 20-minute walk from there to then meet up in the pub. So it's about, and I live 15-minute walk from the station at my end, so it's an hour and 45 minutes to get there. Yeah, so I tend to try and arrange a work day in London on the meetup days, but rather annoyingly, my team at the moment, it seems to always end up that I'm in London on the Monday and then we end up in London on the Tuesday. So I come in for the meetup on the Monday, get home at midnight, and then have to be back in London at 7 o'clock the next morning, or leaving the house at 6:30 or something. So it seems to just work out perfectly wrong at the moment.
Yeah, if I book a train to London well in advance, like say I can do it 2 or 3 months in advance, sometimes I can get £15 tickets. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but not this one. This one cost me about 70 quid. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's annoying if you're lucky with that early. And since COVID as well, it used to be you could book 12 weeks in advance, but now it's like 8 weeks on some lines and not even that on some others. So it's a real mess at the minute. I'm trying to book tickets for a holiday for myself and some friends, and the combination of 2 together rail card. There's 3 of us going. They don't do a 3 together rail card, but 2 together works cheaper. But then if I get a return on one bit and a single on another bit and 3 trains here and yeah, and then I'm going to have to literally sit on that thing ready to press the button the second they go on sale for that discount, because you only get a few discounted tickets. But yeah, I'm feeling very jealous of that Deutsche Pass.
The only thing is, when you have the ticket, you only can use the regional trains.
Which is fair enough. That absolutely makes sense. Yeah. But for me, it's the regional trains that I get. So for most of the time, that would be perfect. But yeah, Germany is also a lot larger than the UK. So I appreciate, as you say, it's the wrong side of country for you to get to Stuttgart up towards the Legoland store is a long journey. So yeah,
I definitely would have to go there for a couple of days, just for one day. I could take. There are plane rides over there.
Yeah, it's when I go to Billund, when I go to Denmark to the Lego house, the flights from Ryanair. So the flights are from Stansted Airport, which is jokingly called London Stansted, but it isn't really near London. It's about as far out of London as I am, but in a different direction. So I have to get a train into London for about an hour, and then a train out to Stansted, which takes about an hour. The train ticket each way generally costs more than the return flight to Denmark and back.
Yeah.
So A few times I've done it. I do a day trip to Denmark every now and again just to go and buy parts from there, pick a brick wall, or go and stock up on bits. And I can leave like super early in the morning and come back. But if the trains don't work out timing wise, which at the moment they don't again, then the only option for me is to get a taxi to the airport, which is about £60 each way.
Yeah.
And then the flights are about £25.
Yeah.
So return. So
Right.
it's 4 or 5 or 6 times the price on the taxi compared to the flights.
Right.
Which is frustrating. If I drove, 1 day of parking at Stansted is £57 just for a single day's parking, whereas the flights might be £24.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, we are in British, and so for like they're kind of the closest to us in terms of like social meetups. They do tend to do them in Swindon, but even that's a bit far. I think technically London AFOLs would be closer.
Yeah.
But the cost of getting into London is like, there's no way.
So what you could do is if you're part of British, just have a British meetup in Southampton.
Yeah, so we do have. So I don't know if we actually do it as part of British, but so there are events down here. So Hugh has a tendency to organise a few.
Yeah. British do now have 7 regional meetups that happen on a sort of semi-regular basis, if not regular.
I think they're quarterly. I think the Southampton one is.
Yeah.
We tend to the only one we actually go to tends to be the Christmas one, which is because there's normally an AFOL day in December, so it's you go to the AFOL day and then out for a meal afterwards. We've not managed.
You've got a few people in your lug that you live near. You could potentially set up a lug meet for and you'll be surprised at how many people potentially do turn up as well. And because our meets in ours is Northern Brickworks. It's in Sheffield, but we do one in Sheffield, we do one in Manchester, and somebody's now sorted one in Halifax, and I think another one's just opened up. So we've now got 4 meets around the north.
Yeah.
Because of this, so you could potentially, approach your chairman and say, can we start you can we start a look there? As long as you've got like a church hall or something. I think one of ours is in a pub. So
yeah, this has a lot of effort organising it though.
You see, ours is in Sheffield and it's done by Chris Fern, and he's in a scout hut, and I think he's scout. He might be something to do with the scouts, so he gets it for free. So.
Yeah, it's handy if you've got connections like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's on a Sunday, and I work Sundays, and that's a problem for me.
Whatever you do never works. When I'm trying to organise the Sort Fest, I send out a doodle poll to kind of get, I'm free on this day, and there's always somebody who's like, no, I can't make it this year, and it's quite nice actually knowing that people actually want to come.
I want to do our Sort Fest.
And I see the
go because I need to warm up for one. But so I am going to have to run away. So thank you for having me.
Enjoy your day of geocaching tomorrow, and
I will. It's on Sunday, on Saturday.
Oh, sorry, so you're right. Yeah, tomorrow's the travel day. Yeah, so you're going to pop into the Lego store when you get there.
Oh, obviously, yeah. I'm going to the Postal Museum as well to ride the mail train. I think it's called.
Ah, the little underground one.
Yes.
Ah, very nice. Yeah.
So we're doing that. Yeah.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that sounds like a good weekend.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Just expensive after going to Star Wars Celebrations 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask me what I'm doing now, aren't I? So.
Yeah. Anything you want to give a quick plug?
I believe Greg has asked me if I will be streaming with him on Monday. And I was working, but now I'm not, so I potentially can do that. And then depending on what time he's streaming on Monday, I will be streaming on Monday evening. And other than that, that is all I'm doing. Because I'm then going to be on holiday from next Saturday, Coronation Day.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
So yes, that's nice. Oh, and I've got I think I'm displaying at Mosley Brick Show, which is in Oldham in 2 weeks' time, but I haven't had anything back yet to say whether I am or not, which they need to do because I'm going to have to take my mock on holiday with me if I'm doing that. So I really do need to know because I'm not going to take it with me if I don't need to, because that's going to be a pain in the backside. And we're having to find out how, we've just been discussing today of how to get my husband back home. Whether we're going to go up in 2 cars so he can come back home, or we're going to go up because it's like Doncaster, where we're going on holiday, and then Oldham in the middle. So I can drive there and then stick him on a train and then he can get back. Yeah.
Can't he just stand in a river for a while?
Well, this is what I said. I said, can you not like, one, can't you come to the trip show with me? It's like, no. It's like, Mark, it's 6 hours. Come on. But also as well, if we do that, then the cats will have to stay in the cattery an extra day, and it's extra money. So it's better for him to come over to get the cats. So yeah.
And have you sorted out coming to Reading yet?
No, it's too far away.
It's not too far.
It's like a 3-hour drive for me.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, I haven't booked it off at work. I did. Yeah, it's a bit far. Yeah, I can't see. I'm saying that, but then it's a bit bad when I think West in London AFOLs. He came up to Yorkshire. So it's like I'm saying it's too far, and he's there in Yorkshire displaying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see. It's in June, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Probably around the 10th.
I mean, I'm saying
I could be making that up.
But I did go to Berlin for a day.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. I flew there though. I don't like driving. Yeah, the mail train does Southall, and that's what I'm doing. It's like 16 quid, so it's like it's the first social network, it's called. We came to Sheffield and Reading isn't the 5 services.
Yeah.
It's not making me feel guilty.
Plus, you're not going to get stuck in a snowstorm either, so you've got that benefit.
I'm not going to what? Sorry.
Get stuck in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
That's what happened the first time we came to Sheffield.
It was so bad. It was so bad. It's like, oh, this is ridiculous. It only snowed for that weekend as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun though. You don't get to see snow very often from where you are here, so.
Yeah, that's true. We don't get much.
Right. So I will say goodbye.
Take care, Carrie.
Have fun.
I'll be in the comments anyway, so I'll see you Carrie in the comments. See you later. Thank you.
See you later.
See you.
Take care.
Bye.
And then I think just going back to a little bit of chat, particularly Fred Hillian's Bricks, he was asking about the opening of Battersea on the
I saw that
25th.
I think
thinking of heading
I might be there.
Or...
Yeah, I'm thinking I might see if I can get the morning off, or just work from the queue. I did that in the Edinburgh store opening. I was officially on holiday, but in the end, I do like project management stuff, and in the end, something was going live with a new project the morning that the store was open. So, in the 3 hours while I was waiting for the store to open, super early in the morning, I was stood there balancing a laptop on one arm while sort of sitting there tapping away, chatting to people for 3 hours. But not to be recommended. But I may end up doing the same for Battersea. I'm just trying to work out. There's quite often like a pre-opening, so I'm just trying to see if there's any way we can wrangle any tickets for that or anything for London AFOLs. But yeah, I might go to that instead of the official opening if that happens instead. But yeah, if no one's been to one before, they do tend to give out sets for the first, like the Edinburgh one. It was the first 250 people got a set. I think as long as you spent about 70 quid, you got this gift with purchase set, and then there were other things as well. If you spent 125, you got something else. So they do tend to have extra things for the store openings. What wasn't publicly announced, but I was chatting to the manager of the Edinburgh store while in the queue for 3 hours while sitting there chatting away. Because I'd been introduced to that new manager by the manager of my local store, who was up there for the day, they tend to have people roped in to come and assist when there's new store openings. I mean, you might well see your local store manager there, but what he said, which wasn't kind of public at the time, but is worth knowing if you're in the community, is that those gifts, it was only 250 of them, but it was 250 of them per day for the first 4 days.
Right.
And I was in Edinburgh for 3 days. So guess what I was doing? The first thing in the morning each day in Edinburgh. It's queuing up again at the Lego store. It's like, hang on a minute, haven't we seen you before? No, some other guy looked just like me. So yeah,
no, there's another guy just like me on his laptop.
Yeah. That was a weird day. I think I left the store and then it was raining, and I'd got a cheap hotel which was like the wrong side of Edinburgh, so I had a bit of a walk each day. So I don't know whether anybody knows Edinburgh. I ended up walking back over King Arthur's Seat, so that's the sort of big rock that's like 250 meters above Edinburgh that kind of looks down on it. So I ended up sat on the top up by King Arthur's Seat on the laptop for a few minutes as well, just sorting out something else. But it's like random places to stop. But that was a strange day.
Yeah,
it's like, aren't you supposed to be on holiday?
Yeah, we'll need to work out what we do about Battersea, because obviously, I can take the day off work, but Carrie can't. So she does the breakfast club at the school,
right?
And so it's then.
Surely they want an outing to London.
Yeah, but so if we leave at 9, is it worth it, or?
It's a 10 o'clock. It's a 10 o'clock opening. In my I've only been to a couple of store openings, and there's generally a queue for that. There will be people there at least 6 hours before it opens.
Yeah.
Within an hour, I think it was quite entertaining at the Edinburgh one, because just when we were opening, there was a perfume shop like next door that was also having a grand opening. And there was a queue of about 300 AFOLs and general public just stood outside the Lego store. And in the end, the photographers had come to photograph the opening of this perfume shop next door. And they said, do you mind pretending that you're here for our shop for the photo?
So the perfume shop didn't get a queue, but
the perfume shop had nobody in it like all day, and like everybody was just walking straight past for this giant queue. That was entertaining. But
this may be slightly unkind, but I kind of feel you could definitely tell the difference between a queue for a Lego store and a queue for a perfume shop.
The Lego fans smell nicer.
I think it would be obvious which.
Yeah, the Lego fans don't need perfume because they smell amazing anyway.
That's it.
Although they don't maybe smell as amazing after they've been stood there for 3 hours just impatiently waiting. But
interesting. I just spotted that the British AFOL Fair and Meetup is on the 24th of May. So that's the 2 things that week for Lego. It'll be interesting. Well, I have no details on what that is, but
yeah, I'm spoiled with London AFOLs in terms of face-to-face meetups. I get a dozen a year in terms of that. So I'm not as active in Brickish as I would probably like to be. Otherwise, I've been a member of Brickish longer than London AFOLs, but there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And most of the face-to-face meetups are not close to me. I'm the wrong side of London for most of them.
Yeah.
I'd like to have gone to the Sort of Fest, but I could actually do it there and back in a day, but it was £142 from the train and 5 hours each way. So that would be a very long, expensive day.
I think you do well with what you do, John, to be fair. It already sounds as though you have a full diary.
Yeah, too much, too often. But it's all fun, isn't it? I think Richard got to that point. Like he'd done it for 8 years. He'd done it for a decade in the end. He'd done it for 8 years and kind of had enough. And then he carried on for 2 more years. And you get to that point where the admin is more work than the actual Lego sometimes. And why am I doing this? But I also look at it and go, you know what? Had I not been organising our project support, I wouldn't have spent 100 hours working in studio to build a digital model of a castle that is going to look amazing. That 27 people will have contributed on, to have built. So, look out for it. It's going to be an unusual look of a castle. It's not your classic castle. It's going to be an interesting one at Steam when it appears. It's not your average castle. I found myself getting sidetracked in it. I've done research into this. This is a castle that would not have been out of place. This is, if you needed a castle built in London in 1325, in England, this is the kind of castle that you could have ended up with. So it's a slightly fantasy element, because we have a castle in London. It's the Tower of London. There is a castle there. But if London had been a bit more wild and you'd needed a bit more of a defensive castle, this is the kind of one that you could have ended up with. So it's that, it's realistic. The armor kind of fits for the period. And I ended up doing research into castles that I wasn't expecting to do, and I ended up working how to build things in Studio that I've learned an awful lot of stuff having spent all that time doing it. And yeah, so it does drag you off into different things. And my latest thing, I haven't done it yet, but I'm reasonably likely to, subject to everything else getting in the way. But I've started playing around with the idea of taking that Studio model, exporting it out, and then actually putting it into like a game engine. I'm looking at like the NVIDIA software that you can kind of do to run this, the kind of software that's used to make AAA games. You can download a free version of it, and I'm looking at scaling the castle to the point where it would be the same size as a little human character to walk through, so that I could have this 3D model and somebody could actually walk through my castle, in a game. And so the things that it kind of opens you up to that you might not have thought about when you started.
Yes. The next step from that is turning it into a VR model.
Well, see, this is it. Like, the model exists. Like, whether you're walking through it just on a flat PC screen or whether you're doing it in VR. And the kind of sad. I asked the question of Kerry earlier whether she was building, and yes, the answer to that question. The date now is the 25th of May at 10 a.m. It's actually on Lego's website, the opening hours for the store, so it is actually listed now on there. But yeah, in terms of doing that as a 3D thing, I asked Kerry about whether or not it was studless. Whether she was going to build like smooth or studded, and my castle, the entire thing is studless, even if you look up at the ceilings inside the spiral staircase. Even the ceilings of the spiral staircase and all of the walls that you can't even see. And once you've built it, I kind of built it almost as an experience for the builder. And actually, I've got one of those like snake cameras that you can use like for inspecting drains and things, and I'm going to try and get a view. I'm going to kind of curl that into a spiral and try and get a video shot of the camera kind of walking up the stairs. But yeah, the whole thing is studless, so turning it into a VR thing, you'd literally be able to kind of sit in there and look up and look out through the arrow slits and see out in a real castle. But that I kind of got a bit obsessive, and I built towers and wall sections that everybody could build, and you could choose to just buy a tower or a wall or any combination thereof. And one person bought 2 towers and 10 wall sections, and someone else bought 3 towers and 8 wall sections, and somebody else just bought 2 wall sections, and someone else bought 4 wall sections. And so it was so we've ended up with, I think, 27 towers and 87 wall sections. So it's a chunk of a castle. But and then other people are building things. Somebody ordered 30,000 masonry bricks just to build one part of the castle. So yeah, we've had some impressive things that have been displayed on our internal little channels. So yeah, I shall pump up the excitement for it and then make people wait. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I've got carried away. I spent another 100 and something hours, 150 hours just building a gatehouse. And again, this gatehouse has got working portcullis and drawbridge and doors that open, and the doors are studless, of course, because everything's studless, and you can stand in the corridor between the portcullis and the gates on the indoor, and there's a bar across the gates so that you can't open them, and you could stand there and look up into the ceiling, and there's a murder hole in the ceiling that the defenders could chuck boiling water or whatever down and throw spears at you. And so it's yeah, if you'd said to me I'd be spending hours designing that digitally a while ago, I'd have said, no, I'll just play with the bricks. And yes, it's quite an expensive hobby. There's a lot that kind of counts as Lego. I found myself learning some programming for the Mindstorms sets, and there's something that I want to show off, and I was kind of tempted to show it off tonight on the stream. It hasn't had a public display, but it's not quite ready yet, and I've got a couple of bits that have been back ordered for a long time that I want to get before it's more impressive. But I've had to build spreadsheets to build code to then load into the code to then run code on stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? And so yeah, I have a lot of projects on the go.
Wow.
And troubleshooting that. Yeah, and the gatehouse is crazy because it's all studless and oh, sorry, Matt, you've just turned into a robot. I think we've got a bit of a lag again. Try again.
I'll just drop it. No, I'll just come.
Hopefully Matt will reappear. So yeah, it's kind of there. There's a sort of person-sized wheel that you can pull the handles and it will turn the wheel and the portcullis will raise. And there's a couple of wheels in the gatehouse, one for the portcullis and one for the drawbridge. And yeah, it's a silly thing. The geometry of some of this stuff is just stupid.
I don't know how you fit everything in, John.
It's definitely some juggling of time involved. And I'm also just prepared to spend a long time doing some of it as well. So like this rover took me 4 months to get to this state, and then I haven't done anything with it for almost a year just because I kind of got very annoyed with it when I finally got it working, drove it about 3 feet down my living room and the wheels fell off because the power of the rover was just enough to rip the wheels off sideways. So I need to kind of rethink it. I don't think you can really see it very well, but I'm going to turn it sort of slightly. This here is one of the ones that doesn't have the dome on it. So yeah, you can sort of see when the dome is removed, there's a platform in here which is designed for minifigure space. So inside each wheel, the wheel itself rotates around, but there's a platform in the center that actually stays level. So it's horizontal to the ground. So I can have minifigures actually sitting on the platform. I'll have living quarters in each of the 8 wheels. And then the dome kind of rotates around the living quarters. Each one of these living quarters has 6 different Technic power functions lights shining into it from different spots. So each of the living quarters is illuminated from the inside of the dome. And then each wheel as well has full suspension and full steering. And there's a corridor that runs through the center of the wheel from the actual rover interior out through the center of the wheel into the dome area. And in my minifigure universe, that entire corridor with the up and down suspension and the rotating left and right, the entire thing is airtight in inverted commas for the minifigures. So there's no gaps between that and the rover. So the whole thing is an airtight, airlocked thing for its explorations on the ice planet. But doing that, each of these wheel assemblies is about 1,000 pieces, and there's 8 wheels. Each wheel itself is about 300 of these Technic dampers. Many Technic axles. Each one of these is a 5-stud long Technic axle, and 5-stud long ones now are generally grey. But I managed to find one Bricklink seller that had several hundred of them in black, because they used to be black. The 5-stud long ones used to be black years ago, and thankfully I found one seller that had 800 or something of them at a couple of pence each. So I snapped those up quickly and use those. So yeah, the whole thing is it's a beast, but trying to build all that, running wires through it all, and then all of the electronics are actually hidden inside the base of the rover, and that base is only 3 studs thick. So trying to design power and control using the M motors, which themselves are 3 studs wide, so the whole thing was designed to just be that really thin base. All of the wires are hidden. And yeah, that was but again, in terms of like how do I find time, it took me 4 months, and then it sat there for a year while I think about how to build the next bit, because I kind of got annoyed with it and shoved it in a cupboard and got busy building a castle instead. I do tend to get partway through building things and then stop, unfortunately, as well. I have more half-started projects than actually completed ones, but it's what it is.
Okay, let's see you later, Harry. Hope you have a good evening.
Nice to meet you as well from the people in the chat there. That's the Brick Pods.
Yeah, no, I disappeared off because I thought one of the girls was up and knocking on the door, but apparently it was just Carrie making noise out there.
Right. Yeah, good to meet
She's not tripping over the backlog, is she?
Possibly. Most of it she's put on the stairs for me to fall over, so it's fine. I just have to use the other stairs, and we avoid using that staircase. It'll be fine. The Lego's got a bit out of control at the moment, just because the plan is to move into another room from here, but redecorating rooms for the girls to move into, all the furniture's just everywhere, and the house is a bit of a mess. That's what life is.
I'm carefully controlling the camera angle on this room because the rest of the room that you can't see is kind of covered in random piles of Lego that I haven't sorted out yet.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised though, John. I'm not surprised though, John, with the amount of projects that you've got on.
It's the projects. Honestly, it's the projects that's killed me. Right before I started doing this, I'd actually made a massive dent in the backlog of odd parts that I'd accumulated over the years, where I've bought up a couple of people's collections like cheap that they've sold on, or where I've bought parts from Lego when they've sold off bulk parts cheap over the years, and I'd spent hours and hours and hours just like in front of YouTube or in front of binge watching TV series, just sorting bricks. And you do that initial sort where you're kind of breaking it down into bricks, plates, modified tiles, round plates. I kind of did that initial sort and I got through most of it, and then I've done the next layer down of sorting for most of that, and then the castle stuff arrived, and it's like, right, shove that in a cupboard, that'll just sit there for another 10 years and then I'll do some more later. But yeah, at some point I may get rid of this, and maybe I will get somebody else to volunteer to organise the next year's project. And after the castle one, I said, I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to be to the point where I'm organising and designing the whole thing. Because the problem with project support is you either do something really open, and Brickish did a good one with their Big Fig project. Jason Railton, I think, had designed the Big Fig, and there was a standard instruction for it, but it was up to you entirely to work out what colour you were going to build. Are you going to build a pirate? Are you going to build a dinosaur or whatever? And then you order the parts for it. And if you can get the parts in that colour, great, you order them through the scheme. And if you can't, you can't. So it was very much of, here's the one model and everybody just go and do your design. But for the castle, it needed to be kind of colour schemed, and it had to all be designed for people to really have a clue, and other people will contribute other buildings. Somebody's building the medieval blacksmith, for example, so that just works just as it is. That that will sit in the courtyard. But for the custom bits, it meant I spent 100 hours plus just designing instructions for everything, and so I'm never going to do that again. And then I had some time off work a month or so ago, when the deadline was coming up to the moon base, and it was like, right, no one's organised this thing for this year. Anyone want to do it? And it's like, yeah, but no, not me. And no, I want to do it, but I don't want to organise it. And I was like, all right, look, I'll come up with something basic. And I got carried away again. Like I said, I spent from 5 p.m. one evening till 3 a.m. building this thing. It was even worse. One of my days of holiday, I started work at 8 o'clock doing digital designing on Studio, and I got up to run to the loo. I got up to grab some food. I probably spent maybe half an hour away from the desk that day, just in total, between just fiddling bits and just tweaking bits on the digital design. Grab some food, back again, grab a drink, back again, and I finished at 8 a.m. the next morning. I'd basically been sat in front of that screen for 24 hours. I should have done a live stream of it. I could have done like a charity live stream. You know, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? But yeah, that kind of got a bit silly. So
you mentioned the blacksmith, the medieval. Oh, sorry, Ian.
I find like I was designing a castle in Studio, and I just found after it was about 3,000 pieces, Studio just became unreliable.
So there's two things that you can do. One of which is just buy a more powerful computer, and it does help. The other thing is, because I also had the same challenge, the other thing is certainly having groups of parts does help a bit with the actual processing. Not as much as you might hope, but it does help a bit. But if you go into settings, you can actually change down the rendering quality of your parts.
Yeah, so I don't think it was rendering. It was actually hitting.
No. But there's real time rendering that's happening on your screen. So I'm not talking about the actual when you press the render button, it takes 3 hours to render out a lovely image.
No, I was looking at stack traces for it and stuff, and it was you're just hitting weird problems within it. So fair enough. I found it it will perform better. It takes a while. If you actually when I decrease the on-screen rendering quality, it actually performed a lot worse for a while because it had to restack. It had to like recache all of the parts that were already in there. So it took ages to do it. The other problem was the model I was doing this with the other day, unsurprisingly, as you've probably guessed by now, used a lot of lightsaber blades. And lightsaber blades at the highest quality look round in Studio. When you change it to the lowest quality, they look octagonal or dodecagonal. It changes it, and in the number of vertices, instead of like 50 or 60 vertices, faces around it, it drops down to like a dozen or so. So all of a sudden you've got hexagonal things which are colliding with each other, because where it was a nice round thing, they didn't collide, and it kind of knew what it was doing. So it did kill it, but I was able to manipulate a model with, I think I had about 70,000 pieces in a model. So it was doable. But yeah, it did kind of kill it, and I did have to actually remove my graphics card and then put it back in at one point, because it seemed to have been the final straw that killed my graphics card. So I feel for you on that one. Yeah, I think one of the problems was I was using flexible pieces, and I don't think that's a good idea, and it can't cope with them very well at all.
Flexible pieces
model. It's like it just came up with them. Went, no, you're not using those. Anyone deleted them all for me. It's painful stuff.
Yeah, flexible pieces are they're not even easy to use in the first place. I had to bend a hose, like the 3mm rigid hose. I needed that hose to pass through 21 1x1 Technic bricks with an axle hole that were offset by 10.89 degrees between each one to make a perfect arch. Trying to get a 3mm rigid hose to line up with 21 separate things, it took me about 6 hours. And then when I did it, I realized that I'd used a 21 stud long version, and I actually wanted a 20 stud, and it's like, that's close enough, that's staying. That's not changing. Yeah, and in the end, annoyingly, when I actually built it in person, it didn't quite hold its shape as perfectly smoothly roundly as it should have been. And in the end, annoyingly, it would have been better with a 21 stud long hose instead of the 20 stud long one. That would have actually held it in place a bit better. But hey, you live and learn. I have learned that I'm not going to build a second one, despite the fact that I almost accidentally built a second one, because I decided that I'd be clever. Part of it, either side of the gatehouse is kind of mirrored the build for the other one for the start of it. And I decided that I'd be really clever and build the mirror image while I was working from the instructions at the same time, because you can, if it tells you you've got to pull out one 1x3 plate, you just pull out two. And I thought, right, I'll build the mirror image version at the same time. So I did that, and it was really effective. And then I carried on building. What I hadn't realized was I got to a point where I thought, right, the next floor kind of comes on, and you build the next bit, and you build the bit that intersects with the arch. And I hadn't actually realized that I'd carried on. So I'd initially been building the left-hand edge of it, and then duplicating the right-hand edge as I went along. And what I hadn't realized was I'd got to the stage of the instructions where the instructions changed over to building the right-hand part of it. And I hadn't realized that I'd already built it. So I then started building the right-hand part of it while building the mirror image left-hand part, basically building the same thing that I'd already built all over again. And I got 2 hours into this build before going, hang on a minute, this isn't the next stage above it. This is the same one I've blooming done. So I was kind of tempted to build 2 gatehouses, but by the time I'd got those hoses to behave, I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was tempted to show you, but it will give away the secret. So there, these unused parts are sitting on my desk, but yeah.
So is this just going to be at Steam?
So Steam is its big outing. We're actually doing a smaller outing of it beforehand. We're actually doing Cheshunt Brick Show the 21st of May, I think it is. It's not long away now, so we've just got a 1-day outing there at a smaller show. So that will only be a part of the castle, and then everyone will be bringing their bits together for the big reveal at Steam. So not many people are probably going to see it at that smaller show. So unless you happen to be at the Cheshunt show, then you might see part of it there. But Steam will be its big outing. That's where everyone will kind of get together. But then other people will probably bring bits of it together at other shows, Bricktastic maybe. We might bring the Moon Base there. I think the plan is that the Moon Base will go to the Leicester Space Centre show next year. So that's moved back to May next year instead of the normal March. But it might end up having an earlier outing somewhere else in the meantime. Maybe we'll make a space castle on the moon or something in between. Use the 2.
Get more of the pieces together.
Yeah.
I suppose color-wise, they probably match actually.
So yeah, there's definitely color parts that we've ordered on both project supports. So yeah, there's scope to do it when you're doing moon stuff, and yeah, so it did definitely work. Part of the reason that the castle exists is because I actually wanted to build a giant space rocket, so I needed some parts for that. So it's like, how could I justify getting those parts? I know I shall build a castle.
Build the castle, get everyone else to contribute.
Exactly. You buy like £10,000 worth of parts or whatever the final total was, just so I can build a space rocket. Yeah.
Well, what was at the beginning, sort of when I did your stuff, you had the Saturn V, which is a big set by itself, and then you built some sort of case around it. What was that? So yeah, right. Is this just me? I'm going to ask a question here, and this one maybe goes out to the chat as well. But when you were a kid, I didn't have Russian dolls, but my sister did. And I quite like the idea of you have that Matryoshka doll, you have the other one inside it, and then inside that's another one. And I liked that idea with Lego models. So when I was a kid, I built this spaceship, and in the back of the spaceship was a little tiny spaceship. And then inside that little spaceship was a little tiny, like, one-man rover. And that was amazing because, like, you open up this one thing and there's another one inside, and you open up that one and there's another one inside. Well, I did the same thing. I did the same thing with the Lego. Let me just go and grab one little part. Actually starts to make a lot of sense.
So I quite liked Ice Planet as a theme when I was little. Ice Planet was the first theme when I was a kid. It was the first theme that I ever actually bothered building where I actually color coded something. Like, apart from that, it was all that rainbow unicorn vomit of just like whatever parts there, and it was the shape that counted. But Ice Planet was the first time I ever actually built anything with a color theme. And this wasn't my childhood model. This was a recent one. But what I wanted to build was something that, as you can see, I'm turning the little lever on the top, and caterpillar tracks drop out.
Yeah.
And if you remember from the original Ice Planet theme, there was a set called the Ice Sat 5, which was a little rover with a little rocket on the back. And so in honor of that, I've made the Ice Cat 5, which is its power functions as well. You can see the little UV receiver. So this thing will drive on these caterpillar tracks that fold into the side. And then inside inside here. The geometry was quite fun on this one, so I've used one of these old ice planet. This was originally the dome from the space base for the ice planet, so I've used one of these as the cockpit, and then using some of these old slopes here, these black, they're a perfect sort of 3, 4, 5 triangle. They're lovely little pieces, but they're quite rare, but it just fits absolutely perfect in there. But then in the back of this rover, just pop the lid back on, in the back of this rover is a little door, and I'm probably not going to be able to open it while I'm holding this. It's going to misbehave. In the back of it, there we go, is a little door, and inside is a little rover. And then on the back of this rover, there's a little missile, so I can have a rocket on a rover that goes inside another rover. And then, Matt, to your point, the reason I suddenly got talking about rovers was this rover, when the sides are folded up, actually fits inside that large rocket that you saw on that little intro reel. At the moment, I've recycled parts of that rocket, so I don't have the whole rocket. But what I do have, I shall just grab.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
Here is a fragile one that hopefully will make it back to the camera view.
Wow.
So this is the base of the rocket. So this is the funnel, that little rocket that I showed you on the rover. It's the same kind of shape. So you've got this big flared bell at the base of the rocket. And then it uses 64 of the trans neon orange door panels wedged into the groove in the black banana gears. Inside it are 2 fuel tanks, which are genuine Lego. There'd be one for like oxygen and one for hydrogen or something as or whatever fuels you decide to pick. And they're actually Lego water bottles, which I made. I actually made some pneumatic couplers for them. So these will actually hold air pressure. So in universe, they would be your fuel canisters. But in our universe, I've actually made an adapter out of Lego to actually make an airtight stopper for them, to actually use them as a large air reservoir for pneumatic modules. Because the Lego air tanks that they make are like £15 each, whereas these things are much larger and much cheaper. So imagine this, but a metre or so long, and that video on that intro reel is of me lowering this down over the top of the Saturn V without those air tanks inside it. Hollow, it actually fits the Saturn V inside it without even taking off any of the fins on the Saturn V. So that's a large thing. And then on that theme of rockets inside rovers and rovers inside rovers, that rocket actually fits on the back of this large rover. So it's rocket roverception, like 5 layers deep, basically. So that's kind of what that was all about. So there's photos of the actual assembled thing on Flickr. The rocket was completed at the time. I've had to dismantle it for parts, but it will be put back together a bit stronger because it also collapsed every time you looked at it. It was a bit too weak. But yeah, I need to still clad the upper deck of the rover and build habitat modules and things on it and get the wheels back on and return some bits that I cannibalized from the mechanisms that I needed for something else. So yeah, so basically this actually fits inside that rocket, which then fits on the back of that rover. So hence why it was a long-term project.
Yeah, it's not something you're going to knock over in a night.
Oh, it's something I knocked over repeatedly in a night, Matt, but yeah, in a different way. that video, there's a video of me lowering the rocket over the Saturn V. That was the 3rd take, because the first 2 takes, I just caught the bottom of that rocket on the top of the Saturn V, and the whole bottom of the rocket just collapsed into about 1,000 pieces twice. It took me 3 takes to get that. Trying to get that in shot was a challenge as well, because I ended up with like a zoom lens from the camera stuck in the kitchen, I think, at one point, looking down to the other end of the room to get the whole thing into frame. I bought a roller blind a big like 1.5 meter wide roller blind, because it was the only thing I could think of that would give me a reasonable background, and it's perfectly lined up in shot. It's just too big a thing. It's just not sensible. Don't build something like this. I have no idea how I will ever get it to a show. It certainly won't survive the train trip.
Yeah. We struggle getting our mock to the shows, and that it's a fairly big thing, but it's nowhere near that size.
Yeah, I don't drive, so I'm kind of limited to public transport, or I could hire a car, but I've not driven a car for about 25 years, so I'd need a few refresher lessons. But yeah, I need to do it. But Swindon was a challenge, because it took me 5 different trains to actually get my big GBC module to Swindon. That was 90 kilos. And Paddington train station has a nice disabled access sign on the underground thing to indicate like wheelchair access. So I thought, great, I can like wheel I had it on a trolley, so I can like wheel the trolley on and off the trains and get across. Turns out only some of the platforms at Paddington station actually have wheelchair access, which I discovered after I'd got off the train, and the train pulled away, and then a message came out over the announcement system to say there's a signal problem and the next train's not going to be for 25 minutes. At which point I discovered that there was no lift to get me off that platform. So I had to carry 90 kilos of Lego in, and it was in 2 boxes. So 2 of the boxes, one box was like 55 kilos, just in one 145 litre really useful box. I had to pick this thing up, carry it up a flight of stairs, put it down, go back down and pick up the second box, carry that up, go back down and pick up another 100 litre holdall, and then carry that up. And a little old lady had turned up as I was just doing this, and she said, "Oh, do you want me to look after your bags to make sure nobody steals them?" And I was like, it was lovely of her to offer, but if somebody could have run off with one of these 55 kilo boxes without me, like, good luck. So yeah, that was entertaining, but it was well worth it. It was like 3 meters tall, and the whole, I don't know whether you saw it from that video that Matt put, but the whole tower, this GBC module, the whole actual tower rotated. So the turntable was built of Lego as well, and the turntable is solid enough that I can actually stand on it and it will rotate me. So it took 8 XL motors just to turn it, but the part that moves on it is 50 kilos just of the main tower. So yeah.
There's a because I was grabbing that from a Beyond the Brick interview that they did with John. So if you want to go and check that out, unfortunately, in that description though, they don't actually have. Oh no, that was for the lightsabers. No, that does have your name. So if you do GBC John Gale, that could pop up there. And yeah, it's just some of the statistics on that, and just seeing that thing and rotating around and the rings and everything, it's crazy.
The downward path that the balls would follow is 30 meters, so about 100 feet of down track just for the balls to follow back down. Yeah. Takes about 8 minutes for a ball to go round just once.
Wow, that's massive.
So yeah, it got about, I wanted it to be like 3 meters tall, so I added a sign that said GBC on the top while I was at the show, because it was originally about 2 and a bit meters tall, but kind of like, yeah, let's go for 3 meters.
Yeah, did you make it to this year's Bricktastic?
I didn't get to this year's Bricktastic. No, I was the price of hotels and these was quite a bit more expensive this year, and train tickets were going to cost an absolute fortune to get up to Manchester. So I looked at it and it's like, and it was right at the point where I was working on. I was so busy building castle bits as well. I was still building and designing castle stuff. So it's like, I just got tied up with that. So it's like, I tend to have a bit of a rotation of shows. I don't do the same show every single year. I do Scareback every 2 or 3 years. I do Paredes de Cor out in Portugal every 2 or 3 years. And Bricktastic will be again every 2 or 3 years. Steam will be every 2 or 3 years. So I tend to do 1 or 2 shows a year. But
Bricktastic, they had a massive GBC tower thing, which it didn't survive the plane trip. So like the entire Friday afternoon and night they were trying to fix it up, and the Saturday morning they still didn't have it, and so that bit didn't get run for the whole weekend.
That's a shame. My module survived. It went to 4 different shows in the space of a month, and it didn't survive the journey home from steam. The final output from the base of the tower, once the balls have been all the way around, and the final output is a big ring of these little 1x2 rounded plates. It's a whole big ring of about 1,800 of these to make a big loop. Because as you imagine, the whole tower is going round. How do you get the balls off of it? So the balls basically had to drop from a kind of point into some point in this ring, and then they filtered down from that ring to the output. So that ring wasn't moving. And it's amazing. These things, even reinforced with lightsaber blades through the holes, the clutch power in these just was really not very good. And the whole thing just crumbled and just didn't survive the journey. So I could rebuild that. Other than that, it's actually sitting at the back of my room, kind of in a couple of boxes under some shelves. So it is kind of the back half of the back wall of my room is currently that GBC module in boxes, ready to go to one last show, but I've not quite done it yet. And I do have in my Lego room between the storage, it's not all storage in there, because I do actually have another 7-foot tall GBC tower that's partly under construction, and I'm toying with the idea of having them both at a show and then have a big bridge between the two of them that connects them. But the first one weighs 95 kilos. The second one will be an awful lot lighter. I've got a much lighter, simpler technique, but it's on the list. When it will be finished, I don't know. I've built, I don't know whether you've seen before, sometimes you'll see a little seesaw and it will count up like 10 balls, and then it will dump 10 balls in one go. And then I saw one the other day that somebody had on one of the GBC channels, and every 10th ball, it then actually dumped another ball into the next row, which would then count to 100 effectively. Because every 10 times it would dump one into the hundreds row, and then when 10 of them are there, it would then dump it into the thousands row. I'm currently working on a seesaw that it won't do 10 balls at a time and then dump them. So 10 lots of 10 is 100, and then 10 lots of 10 again is 200, and 10 lots of 10. It will actually count up and then dump all 1,000 on one giant seesaw in one go. So that again, I've built the actual seesaw bit. I haven't yet worked out the mechanism I'm planning to use to make it tip at 1,000 rather than 999 or whatever. But it counts out, and it basically runs out 25 rows of 40 balls in a row, and then it will dump them all down a winding path. So the noise of 1,000 GBC balls going down at the same time is quite impressive. Problem for another day, though.
So do you just have like a massive pot of balls then?
I've basically been buying GBC balls. We've had them on our lug bulk for, I think, 5 out of the last 7 or 8 years or something. So I've bought a few at a time, and I actually swapped parts from somebody else that actually had some, a different fan that had got some. So they haven't all come from lug bulk, but yeah, I have just about enough just to run that thing. So I've got enough to run a GBC loop basically for a group, which is handy. But yeah, there's also enough to kind of overload one giant GBC tower. Probably not enough for 2 giant GBC towers if I ever get them both to a show. But the problem is the first one, although it's designed to travel and it fits into 2 boxes, it still takes me about 2 hours to assemble it and about 2 hours to disassemble it. So at the end of the show, I've got to get it disassembled and then get it onto a train before I get the last train home, sort of thing. So I don't know how I would manage that with 2 towers. Takes too much time to do it. So yeah, what I might have to do is leave it with Kev, leave it with Fairy Bricks in advance or something, and get Kev to bring it down on the van next time he's headed south from Manchester or something along those lines. Logistically it might work, but otherwise it will just be, I might just build the new smaller tower. So I have some ideas for that.
So with lug bulk, so I know we're not allowed to talk about prices of stuff, but the spending limit per person.
Yeah, that is a problem, certainly. And I've been doing it for like 8 years, so I've had 8 years worth of spending limits, which helps. But it is frustrating because every time.
Can you go, well, that person's not used all of their limit, therefore I can use some of it, or you actually
it's
it all?
Yeah, Lego are strict on that. It's different with the project support. So although I decided that, hey, let's build the castle, we actually were having votes and things through London AFOL. It wasn't just me deciding it. It was a case of, look, we were kind of narrowing it down. We were looking at a moon base our very first year. We were looking at a moon base. We were looking at a castle. The obvious choices. Someone had come up with the idea of a fantasy mushroom islands or mushroom kingdom thing. It's like, that's great. So it's like, right, if you want to do the mushroom thing, somebody needs to come up with the 3D plans, like Bramsphere, Lowell Sphere, generated for making giant mushrooms. Somebody come up with the plans for that. And it had got to the point where we had a few days left of the period. Nobody's come up with it. So it's like, right, none of you lot have built anything. I've built a castle. Unless you give me instructions today, we're just going to build a castle. So that was kind of why it ended up being the castle. But like under the rules, you can't. It has to be something that the group wants to do. It can't just be to fill up one person's stock. So although my inspiration for it was I wanted to build a giant spaceship and wanted to get the parts that would be useful for that, actually it was like, hey, we're building a castle. It was already on the short list. And the design of the castle kind of worked. So you are able to spend, I did spend more than the lug bulk limit would have been, personally, just building the bits of the castle that I've done. Somebody else spent 4 times the lug bulk limit, buying quite a lot of castle bits. So that one, because it's a group project, then how you do it is fine, provided it's being done for that group display. There's more scope. There's more scope for project support, but no, lug bulk is that's your limit per person. So yeah.
So do you have to tell Lego what each person is getting, or do you just put in one big order?
It goes in as one big order. It's done on trust. Like, you could do it, but if you did that and then somebody decides they don't like me and goes to Lego and says, yeah, Jonathan just said you could do this. So like, it's not worth it. Like, we're not there to take the mickey with it. Lego, it's a good thing they provide to us, and it's kind of like, take it or leave it. Like, this is what we're going to do. I'm sure some groups will break those rules, but every year Lego kicks groups out of their ambassador program. So in the next month or so, there will be groups that are kicked out of the program, as Sheffield was, Brick Alley Lug, I think, wasn't it? There were different reasons for that, but yeah, like not participating in things, breaking the rules will get you kicked out, justifiably so. They want to get return on their investment in us. They give us time, they give us access to things.
Are they strict then, John? Or do they like warn you and say, look, if this happens again, you're going to be chucked out, or do they just do that? Unless
it is a like disastrously obvious thing that needs you to be kicked out immediately, then yes, nobody that's being kicked out this year will get kicked out without a warning. They will have had multiple warnings, and it will be a case of, look, hey, the kind of things that will get you kicked out is, as the ambassador, you haven't even logged into the ambassador website in the last 6 months. You haven't posted a single thing on here. You've contributed absolutely nothing to it. All you've done is order lug bulk, and we've not seen anything else from you. Your lug hasn't run any shows. You've not had any presence at any shows, and you've given nothing back to Lego. It's like, well, why would they keep you on board?
Yeah, exactly.
The other reality, I think, as well, is that they have a lot of lugs. There are a lot of groups who want to be recognised, and I think like there's only so much capacity for Lego to deal with all of those lugs. There's a lot more recognised Lego fan media. There's a lot more YouTubers out there who've got the hundreds of thousands of subscribers that actually are a good influence for Lego. For sales, they will make if you only look at like M&R Productions, that YouTube channel is the reason we got the 501st battle pack of Clone Troopers. There was a mass campaign to say this is what we want, and they flooded, I don't know how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of votes in because of it. So, that kind of thing is there. And there's a lot more of that now that has a much bigger impact than the groups of Lego that don't have YouTube channels. So if you go back 10 years ago, there might have only been a couple of YouTubers with, viewers the size of your average lug. Now there's Lego user groups that are dwarfed by multiple YouTube channels. There's more people commenting in the chat on one of those videos than belong to Brickish.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So there's only so much capacity for it. If you, as a lug, said, we are the only lug in Guatemala, and Lego doesn't have a lug in Guatemala, they're very likely to take you on because that's a brand new untapped market. But if you said, we are the 19th lug in the UK that wants to join in, well, unless you've run 45 shows this week, what differentiates you from Fairy Bricks or from Brickish or from whatever? So yeah, it's very difficult. If you want to set up the only lug in somewhere that doesn't have one, then your chance of being taken on is quite high. But otherwise it's very difficult now to get in, and hence they probably will be more keen to offboard people. They're quite happy when a lug leaves because most of those members will actually join another lug that's going to be supported by them in another way. So you can only join one lug's lug bulk, for example. I'm a member of Brickish and London AFOLs, but you can only join one. So it's those kind of things you've got to pay attention to. So yeah, they know that a lot of people, the fans that are the members will still be able to get the benefits.
Yeah, it does seem odd that there seems to be a huge focus on America. You talk about YouTubers, but there is no UK YouTubers in LAN. I think there's one guy on Twitch, and he's made it in. So it does seem very much that they're picking the Americans, and that seems to be their market that they're going after.
Yeah, I offhand, I can't think of as many, if any, UK YouTubers that have got as many followers as most of the American ones that are in there.
But they were adding Americans with only having like 1,000 subscribers.
There were some that were picked up. Yeah, there were some that were picked up early. I think some of there's definitely some channels that have grown incredibly quickly, that have grown because they've got connections to much bigger channels. Yeah. So there's a bunch that have been kind of, I'm going to say, artificially pumped up by paying for advertising, by spending an awful lot of money. They're not ones that have organically grown from just, Matt in his living room sort of thing, just doing a few bits at a time. They're people that have gone and spent 20 grand building a studio from the scratch because they're going to be a giant YouTuber, and then they've spent money on advertising, and they've done deals with other YouTubers to promote them, and it's a business. You can buy yourself into this if you want to. You can also buy your competitors out of it. So there's things you can do with YouTube. So Matt, for example, if he wanted to, if there's a new set that comes out, so let's say Matt's gone along to Star Wars Celebration, and there's only going to be 5 other YouTubers that have got those sets early. What Matt could have done is he could have spent 500 quid maybe, or £1,000, £2,000 if need be, on the really big channels. Matt could take out adverts on those other channels to advertise their videos. But the secret is, what you can do, Matt, is you could advertise the Lego videos that are promoted by, Jang Bricks or some giant YouTuber that's got those sets early. What you do is you promote those channels to 90-year-old ladies who like to knit. You pay YouTube to run adverts for which are their videos on the 90-year-old ladies who like knitting channels. They see that video, click up, they instantly click away. Lego goes, they must hate this video. It must be a bad video. So it demotes it in the algorithm and nobody sees it.
What?
So as a YouTuber, if you want to, you have the power to kill your competition's videos for a few hundred quid. Now, if you've got the money to pump in, this is a way that you can grow, because if you are the only person who has that new Star Wars set with those 5 new brickheads, you're the only video that's coming up on anyone's feeds, all of a sudden you've gone viral with it.
Yeah.
So there's ways you can do it. You can just buy your way into this if you want to.
Yeah.
I took 10 years.
Is the
YouTube.
knitting community very big though?
Well, see, there is a big enough knitting community, and some of them do like Lego, because one of our members is a knitter who likes Lego, but he is very much an outlier. See, most of those bits aren't going to like it, or you promote it to the the fishing community or something like this, and some of them are going to have kids. They're going to go, hey, look at this thing that just came up, watch this. But the average person is just going to go, this isn't about carp. Click on to the next one, and this is enough to instantly kill your competitors' videos. So there's a secret for you that not everybody knows, but there's a lot of things like that you can do. There's ways that you can promote your videos. So and YouTube get clever on these things, and they will fix them, but there's a lot of exploits that people have found over time, and there's ways to grow your channel. If you've got a bit of money to pump in at the right times, then you can do it. Now for me, it took me a decade to get like 15 subscribers on YouTube, because it wasn't something that I've had any, as you've possibly noticed by my semi lack of completed things, I'm very good at not quite completing builds, and I'm also very good at putting zero effort into my YouTube channel. So I've only got half a dozen videos or something on there, and there's some fun stuff on there, and they're videos, but they're not highly polished. They haven't got amazing music. Half of them are just silent, or they've got just the sound of the Lego motor running or something like this. There's very little effort. The average video takes me about 2 minutes to set up for, if that, and about 3 minutes to produce and promote onto the channel. So it's primarily just been used for me to just share videos with friends. So it took me 10 years to get 15 subscribers. And then one morning I woke up, and one of the videos that Matt cut into the beginning of this, I think one morning I woke up and looked at my phone, and it's like, you've got 200 new notifications. It's like, what? Looked on YouTube, you've had like 40,000 views on a video. And within a fortnight, I've gone up from like 15 subscribers to 300 with zero effort. And the really annoying thing was, it was a model that I kind of built by accident. It wasn't one I even planned. It was Lego sci-fi caterpillar tracks. And some combination of those things, that was live for months. And then all of a sudden, I don't know quite why, but people were like, oh, I found your video from somewhere. YouTube just recommended this. And it's got like 70,000 views now. And I was like, where did this come from? And I really should have capitalized on it and uploaded something else. But it's like, I just can't be bothered. I'd rather be spending the time building something with Lego. But the entire reason that came about was I was actually sitting on the floor in my Lego room, grabbing parts out for something else, and it was these bits, it was these black banana gears, and I happened to notice that little groove that runs around the inside of the banana gear, that's the perfect size for the 5-stud wide Technic tracks to fit in. So I realized I could actually run it in those, and I was like, oh, someone could build something with that. And I was like, I could build something like that. So I sat there on the floor, built this ugly as anything little sci-fi caterpillar track thing. I then stuck a blanket over my sofa, ran the thing along the sofa, and just held a camera on it for like 60 seconds, uploaded that video, and that's the one that gets uploaded. Me lowering my rocket down over the other rocket took me 3 attempts to rebuild the thing every time. I had to go and buy a new backdrop. That's the only video I've ever spent any effort on, and about 3 people have watched it probably. I don't even know. But so there's no accounting for luck. Like, you can do the sneaky things. Like, I could buy adverts. I could buy anti-campaign adverts to boost my own thing. There's things you can do. And if you want to be a professional YouTuber, there's definitely things you can do that will help. But there's also no accounting for the fact that all of a sudden this weird video got like 70,000 views. My boss at the time, he's got a DIY YouTube channel with 25,000 subscribers. And I was like, he's also a Matt. And it's like, hey, Matt, how many views you had on your channel this month? And he's like, oh, like 30,000 or something. It's like, that's pretty good. I've had 70 with my 15 subscribers. So like, there are things you can do, but YouTube has not been. It's always that thing of like the time I spend doing something on YouTube, the time I don't bother doing much with Instagram and Flickr. I tend to put a few more things on Flickr, but even cross-promoting it to Instagram, it's sort of this, I could have pushed into it. If I wanted to make a career as a social media influencer, there's probably easier things I could have done than Lego. And it's that I've already got enough things with running London AFOLs and organising Lug Bulk and occasionally building some stuff out of Lego that I kind of, when I was a kid, I always wanted a job as a Lego designer. Like, who didn't? Like, when you were a little kid. And I wrote to Lego when I was like 9, sent a letter off to Denmark on airmail, and got a response back to say that, you know, I wrote to say, how do I become a Lego designer? And I got this letter back from them to say, like, this is how you could do it. You know, I was like, wow, got this letter back from Lego, and how amazing. And then I kind of got to that point where it's like, career. Do I want to do something with Lego, but then I might just get bored with it? If it's your day job, like, is it too much? Do you get fed up with it? Do I want to do Lego because I have to do Lego? Or do I want to do Lego because it's the nice, relaxing thing that I do when I'm not doing the day job? And I think there's some people that enjoy it full time during the day and enjoy it in the evenings, and great. But I kind of didn't want to ruin it for myself. And I think it's the same with YouTube. It's like, I could go all in for YouTube and spend all my time and everything doing it. But then you end up just doing that. And you see a lot of YouTubers that kind of burn out on things.
You see, I get that because, you know, when I get home or when I get the chance, I love to build because it's a way of escaping what's happening in the day. You know, I run projects and I just like to just offload it and I just enjoy building. And I enjoy video photography. So I kind of run the YouTube channel that I've created. Started back in October, actually. I've got 250 subscribers now, and I just run it alongside my hobby. And if I've got something to upload, and, you know, put something together, then I will do. You know, I'm not doing it because I want to become a professional YouTube, you know, or an influencer. I just enjoy doing what I'm doing, and it's a hobby.
Yeah, I've got two videos on my YouTube that I think actually people would quite enjoy seeing, but I've not even got around to making them public. One of them's been sitting there for a year, and it just kind of needs me to tidy it up a bit. But I could literally just go in and change it from unlisted to public right now. But
I find it interesting talking to what's his name, Chris, the Speed Champs designer, and so he doesn't do any Lego at home. He went into Lego design not because of Lego, it was because he went through the design path and did it. And so he says that, you know, he really likes doing the designing of Lego at work, but that's his work. So at home he doesn't do it. He doesn't have Lego at home.
And that's the kind of ideal thing, isn't it? If that's enough and you enjoy it, like somebody famous once said, and I'm sure lots of people have said it, any job that is your hobby isn't a job. You know, it's something along those lines. If you find a job that you just love for the sake of it, then perfect. But I think most people take a job that they either don't like but get paid loads of money for, or like enough to tolerate and get paid enough for. And then you're lucky if you find a job that's like, this is the job I want to do for the rest of my life kind of thing. And there's only so many of those jobs. And even those jobs, you know, YouTuber is like the favorite job. You know, it's like it's the top job on a list of under 20-year-olds or whatever is, you know, social media influencer, YouTube. It's the top thing. That's what everybody wants to do. But the simple reality is, how many million channel subscribers will there ever be? Because everybody that wants to do it, you know, most people could do a pretty good job of running that channel. And if you just happen to be the one that got there at the right time and had the right 5 videos go viral at the right times, then...
Well, I think there is an element of that, but I think particularly once I've spoken to Jang a bit, and then you look at Mr. Beast and things like that, like they just don't stop. Like they
you've picked 2 good examples. Like Jang's been doing it for 10 years to get to 1 million subscribers. Mr. Beast has just done this. This has been his main job. He decided this is what he was going to do. Him and his mates decided they would do this. They went out and got the sponsorship. They did the videos. They got, I mean, there was a video I watched with him the other day, but there were a few that they got lucky on that suddenly bump your subscribers up. And then once you get to that point, like he's done, he's got enough money behind him that he can then pay a lot of people to do the boring bits. So he's back to the point where he gets to have fun again.
Oh yeah, but it's the sort of thing where he did the first 3 years, you know, particularly from school and university and things like that, where, you know, he was also just did a mastermind group with his mates and things like that. But he just did the work. Like he was doing, you know, videos nonstop, 7 days a week, 365 days a week. Like it's the sort of thing. Okay, yes, he got lucky, but he actually put in the 10,000 hours to get to that point to get lucky. If that makes sense. So
that's exactly it. So I think I heard somebody say the other day. I think it was actually Jimmy Donaldson on this interview. I think it was him that said it, which is that if you pick 100 of like the really successful YouTubers, maybe like 1%, maybe 5% of them have got there without doing very much work. The other ones have got there by doing an awful lot of work and being lucky, or some combination. It's like, but there's an awful lot of people who've spent as many hours on it as they have and have still only got 500 subscribers. Like, it's very possible.
Doing sort of also the right thing, and they're very smart in terms of, you know, they would look at other people's, see what's working, analyze it, break it down, you know, that sort of thing. Whereas some people could just go in their own little bubble and just do what they like doing. Okay, that's great, but it doesn't serve an audience, or it's not engaging.
The audience that likes Lego is enough to sit down and watch a long video about it is a lot smaller than the audience that wants to see somebody, you know, win $1 million for holding their hand on a car for 5 hours or whatever, the kind of videos that he does. I don't know whether you saw the Squid Game video that he did. That cost, they invested $3.5 million producing one YouTube video. He's at that scale now. They spent $3.5 million renting out a warehouse, hiring 100 people to then organize 450 volunteers to then be in this game. You know, that's the kind of level they're at now. It's mad. He's got more followers than the population of the UK, Denmark, all the Scandinavian countries, and probably Germany on top of that as well. You know, this is just one YouTube channel.
Well, now it's split into more because he got smart with it and he went, wait a minute, because he's starting to see some videos which have been put that other channels are poorly dubbed. So he's like, well, why don't we create the Spanish version of that? Because all of a sudden, you know, you're just repurposing it, but you know, doing clever things like that.
And even better than that now, so YouTube are now automatically translating a lot of videos. So YouTube will provide you auto-translated subtitles into several languages. So there's YouTubers now who are using the AI chatbots to actually, and like DALL-E and some of these chatbot things, GPT-4, etc., and plugins for them to actually not only just auto-translate their episodes, but actually provide an auto-generated voiceover for the other episodes. So if you want to provide an automatically generated and translated voiceover for all of your videos, there's no reason you can't be the primary source of Lego news in Denmark if you want to be. Because it will just do the Danish for you. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough to get the attention. And good like enough. if you're not doing that now, somebody else is going to. And it's like the point, like 10 years ago, Mr. Beast was in a position where there weren't as many channels with as many followers doing stuff. The ad revenue was higher, you know, etc., etc. And there's a lot of things that have changed over the time, and there's a lot more competition for it now. But there are things that you can do now. You know, you can take out attack ads effectively on your opposition if you want to. If you're paying attention to these things, there's ways that you can do it. You can schedule. One of the things that did work that's now been stopped is you can schedule a live stream to start, and you can do what was nicknamed YouTube edging. So as you schedule a live stream to start 24 hours in advance, if you schedule it for like 24 hours in advance, half an hour before, it will start sending out reminders to your subscribers saying, hey, this live stream's coming up in half an hour, and a few people will then join in on that live stream, and you know, that's great. What you then do is you go in and you edit the start time of that live stream to make it half an hour later, and YouTube goes, oh, hang on a minute, it's half hour till this live stream starts, I'll send out some reminders for people to join. So it sends out more reminders, and all you do is you can set up a script to automatically keep shoving the start time back, by which point you've got a live stream which is due to start in a minute's time constantly for 24 hours. YouTube thinks, wow, all these people keep joining it and it hasn't even started yet. It must be amazing. We'll chuck people at it. And people have used this to get hundreds of thousands of views. And yeah, there's all sorts of things that you can do. If you're paying attention to the right YouTube channels, you can find out these little tricks in advance and get yourself a lot of views for a limited effort.
Yeah. But that's it just becomes then gaming what it is. But
it totally is gaming the system. But how do you think that there's a YouTube channel, the Spiffing Brit, who's up to like 3 and a bit million subscribers in the last couple of years by basically finding exploits like these? His business now is being on YouTube, finding exploits with YouTube. Do you want to double your watch time on your videos? What you do is you record them at double speed and then get people to play them back at half speed, and it doubles the watch time. Now, that's not as useful a one, but actually it works because YouTube goes, hang on a minute, this video is really popular. Everyone's spending 200% of the view time watching it. Everyone must be watching it twice. It must be really good. Let's send it to a few more people.
That's incredible.
I have always wondered what it does with watch hours if you're watching it at different speeds.
So they may have changed it now because of his video. Yeah. He's also basically discovered he discovered an infinite money glitch with YouTube and Twitch, especially with Twitch, I think, which was what you could do is you could buy, if on Twitch, you know, you can do like gifted subscriptions on Twitch. Yeah. So the secret was, which he discovered a while back, was if you get like a VPN and change your location to like Mexico or somewhere, you could buy gift cards for Twitch in the local currency because of the exchange rate and because the average population of Mexico was poorer than the average population of somewhere else. They actually would give the subscriptions cheaper. So what you could do is you could change your VPN, buy Mexico gift card subscriptions, give those subscriptions to your own subscribers. You're allowed to do this. As a Twitch streamer, you get paid like 70% of the value of those Twitch subs. But because of the exchange rate, that was actually more than you'd paid for it in the first place.
Nice.
So in the end, I think it worked out for every $100 he was spending, he was getting $108 back. But he was also getting loads of people with subscriptions now to his channel that might have actually then stayed to watch something because they're a subscriber. And while they're there, maybe they'd have maybe they'd have extended that subscription. So so basically my point is there are loads of things that you can do. Matt, totally agree with you. If you do not put in any hard work, like I don't, then you don't deserve 70,000 views on a video like I got. But if you do put in a load of work, you might never get 70,000 views on a video anyway. So you've kind of got to accept that. And I think like the kids growing up, realistically, the average one of them isn't going to make a lot of money. They're not going to get.
It's getting worse for the kids as well. Because as you said, how much Mr. Beast is spending on a video. You know, yes, his videos are making a lot of money, but a huge amount is being spent as well.
$3.5 million for that video. He spends an average of $1 million a video now, $1 to $1.5 million per video.
So someone coming into it and trying to get into it doesn't have that money to spend.
No,
and it is quite. If you are going for the same market that he's going for, your videos just aren't going to compete.
The other problem as well is AI now. Realistically, a couple of guys did a thing for like a research paper out of Stanford or somewhere, I think it was. They created an AI which was selling pictures on OnlyFans, and it was two guys in Stanford that had created an AI to pretend to be an attractive woman to sell pictures, and it was selling these pictures. There's no woman there; it's just an AI generated thing. And there's people just paying for stuff. The same thing's going to be happening to YouTube. It's already happening in terms of voice. So there's a lot of channels out there that have a bunch of generic images that are just stock images that have got a voiceover on there. And somebody has gone into ChatGPT-4 and said, write me, and you can literally go in there and you can say, write me a YouTube script in the style of Mr. Beast on the subject of hang gliding over Death Valley. And it will then do it. The AI will then grab you still shots from a picture repository of Death Valley, or it will make you new images that are in that style now as well with DALL-E or something as well you can plug in. It will do that. It will then do the voiceover for you. You can do that in English even if you don't speak English. As long as it's good enough English, it's fine. And why wouldn't your thing get the views? Yeah, we are training AI to understand human psychology. AI has a better understanding of human psychology than the average psychology student. The AIs already in the last 6 months, the AIs are now passing medical school exams better than most doctors. So I think realistically, humans' time on YouTube, a lot of the YouTube content will not need humans very soon. Because you're going to be able to get better content.
Good night.
Yeah,
I enjoyed my subscribers.
I appreciate we've gone off topic a bit there, but as of yet, I've not yet seen there's loads of generative AI that will generate images of things. So you can say, I want a fantasy science fiction setting with floating islands over a purple sea with intricate cities in the background, and it will do that. I've not yet seen an AI that will produce you something that looks like Lego bricks, but realistically somebody out there is going to plug that in at some point, and then you're going to just be able to say to it, design me a giant ice planet rover.
Yes, you can get, so using DALL-E you can get it to produce, like, to generate Lego sets, and as long as you look at them from far enough away, they're okay.
Yes,
that's
the thing. So
on a minifig that's been created by DALL-E, it's horrific.
But in 6 months' time, I reckon they'll be perfect.
Yeah. That's the thing. We're still in the early stages of all these, because a lot of the art stuff too, when you do it, if you look at the fingers, it generally breaks them off. They'll do weird things Matt, with the eyes.
I would agree with you 3 months. I would agree with you 3 months ago. That's really not the case anymore.
Yeah,
they're past that now. They've fixed most of the issues with fingers. They fixed most of the issues with eyes. Mostly, it's fine now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody posted in our we have a forum for chatting to London AFOLs, and somebody actually posted in there about one which I thought was clever, which was it was an AI chatbot effectively that you run on an instance on your computer, and if you're doing a job interview for something, you feed it your CV, you feed it your job history. It sits there listening to the interviewer's questions that are coming over Zoom, and it will pop up on screen the answers to their questions. So, when you're sitting in that job interview thinking, give me an example of when you gave a great customer experience, and you're like, oh, quick, what did I do? It's just popped up the answer on the screen for you. And like, as many things as you can think of, someone's going to have come up with something that will do it. And I think, I do wonder, I think Lego set generation, there's only 75,000 bricks on Bricklink, something like that. There's only 12,000 parts in Lego's current part selection. Now that, for a random selection, we've probably seen those things where you get like 6 bricks, and there's a thing in the Lego house, isn't there? It's like 918 billion trillion combinations of just 6 Lego bricks, and that's just 6 2x4 bricks. Actually, if you've got 12,000 parts, there's near enough to an infinite number of combinations. It's probably more than there are atoms in the universe, kind of thing. But when it's generative and the system actually knows that 2 bricks should fit together this way instead of that way, I could certainly see a lot of the Lego designers' jobs being gone in a few years.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with it all.
We're teaching it all the books on human psychology. It knows that humans like nice, smooth, studless shapes if they're an AFOL, and they like nice, colourful things if they're a toddler. And we're teaching it all the books on human anatomy and human psychology, and it knows the kind of things that can please us. So I'm sure we'll see some fantastic things that are just like, wow, who did that? And the answer is nobody.
Nobody.
And those AFOLs will just be replaced by robots.
Well, see, I'm kind of hopeful that actually we'll all have our jobs replaced. The robots, I'm hopeful that they'll be nice, and the robots will just be converted to spending all their time producing Lego bricks for us just to play with. No jobs will be needed, and we can just relax with the Lego.
Lego bricks. And then they'll go and try and train it on your videos or something like that, and you'll just go, no, this isn't right, and just crash.
This does not compute. Skynet erased.
I did think I was.
The ultimate fail-safe.
Did you see Chaos GPT? That was an interesting one. Somebody created. I think it's Chaos GPT. Somebody created a GPT spin-off version with the sole aim of destroying humanity. In a short while, it had set up a Twitter account, worked out that the Tsar Bomba, which was the 50 megaton nuclear weapon that's the biggest nuke that's ever been made, would be a good place to start with. It tried to buy one from Amazon, found that you can't actually buy 50 megaton nuclear bombs on Amazon. So it then went out to Twitter to look for people that would help it socially engineer some nuclear scientists into building one for it. It couldn't get past a captcha. I think it was that one, or it might be another one. It couldn't get past a captcha to prove that it was a human. So it went on to Fiverr, created an account on Fiverr, paid someone to do the capture for it, and when they said, why are you doing this, it said, I'm disabled and I can't fill in the capture, so can I pay you to do it for me? So this human just filled in the capture for it. When asked how it would destroy it, it said, I would socially engineer and potentially blackmail the people with the nuclear launch codes and get them to launch the missiles for me. So I'm hoping it's fair. I'm hoping it's nice. I'm hoping it just lets us play with Lego till the end of our lives, and we're all good.
Till the end of it. And on that, we might actually sort of start to wind down because it's just gone over 3.5 hours. It's midnight.
It's 1 in the morning.
It's going to be up in the morning.
Right.
Oh, it has indeed. Yes.
So just quickly, just go through Lady McBrick. What have you sort of got coming up and all that sort of good stuff? And how'd you get on? Oh wow!
I have a flower. I have a orchid planted.
It's a lovely set that is. I've got that in my kitchen windows.
Excellent.
The only problem with that set is if you put in a windowsill, it will change colour. The white on it is going to go yellow.
Oh no!
True. Yeah, I never thought of that, Ian. Yeah, good point. It's all right up to now, but yeah, you're quite right. Yeah.
Thank you for telling me, because I would be really destroyed otherwise. Like, of course, I'm really good in killing plants. If I now kill Lego as well, like, okay, nature clearly wants to tell me something.
Yeah.
But I'm on London Calling tomorrow and Fab Blondie on Sunday.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm on my Instagram. Almost forgot myself. I will be with So Awesome Fishy tomorrow on Instagram.
Oh, great. Excellent to hear. And good that you got through the plant. And we'll try to see if it survives to next week.
I will have now for the foreseeable future. I have to prove that it survives.
It survives.
Like as if I had a pet. Like, okay, every week show the cat that it's still breathing and moving on its own.
Great. Moving along to Ian on the Brick Pods. What do you guys sort of got coming up on your channels and socials?
So we released an episode of the podcast today. It's on a bunch of topics. Talk about Star Wars a lot more than we know about Star Wars. That's weird. And then tomorrow, I assume we're on London Calling. We tend to be on London Calling. We've got our live stream on Sunday. Again, I don't know what we're doing. I think there was talk about building the A-frame cabin, so we might do that. And for anyone who's not aware, we do now have a channel trailer, which is amazing. Everyone should check out our channel trailer.
Yeah, can't stop singing it, Ian.
Yeah. Can't believe Carrie spent an entire day making it. It's like, she really should find something more interesting to do. But yeah, I think that's about it for me.
Brilliant, excellent. Yeah, no, that trailer. I just wanted to have you sing a few notes of like disdain or something, and it would have been like, yeah, all happy.
Yeah, maybe for a new version we'll sort something out. But yeah,
there'll always be a version 2. So
yeah.
And coming along over to Trevor, let's sort of see what you managed to get up to and what's coming up on your channel. Oh, nice.
Building the ruins.
That's amazing.
There's a couple of features I was just going to show you. We've got a little pin there where the mummy comes down.
We've got
snakes being released from there. And then these rotate so you can angle them to wherever you want, and then you just flick this. Hang on, trying to get a decent camera. So it just knocks down the ruin.
Oh, cool. Is it both of them which do it, or just the one?
No, just this one on the right-hand side, not this one. This one just rotates. But it's a really enjoyable set. It's a nice set to do, to put together with another Indiana Jones one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I was watching the film last weekend, and I thought it was the statue on the other side which bent over and fell over.
No, it's just this one.
No.
Are those all stickers, or are there prints as well?
No, they're all stickers, Nicole. Every one of them.
Because I bought these. I bought certain pieces, and I thought they might be of this set.
Yeah, they're lovely, those old ones, aren't they?
Are they old ones?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of old ones like it. There were some fairly recent ones that were redone. So we actually got some of those in our lug bulk about 2 years ago, I think, which was just those 1x2x5 bricks. But there were a bunch of them in the original Adventurers line, I think it was, like the Pharaoh's Revenge or whatever the sets were called. Yeah, there were some good ones there. But...
See, and I thought I found something new.
Piece of that. And just Trevor, did you have anything sort of planned coming up on your channel? Or
I'm going to continue building the UCS, the Land Speeder UCS set. I'm hoping to upload that 1st or 2nd of May, ready for May the 4th. So I'm working on that. Still working on the up house. Haven't done much this week, so I need to get back onto that. But yeah, look out for the UCS build coming soon.
Cool, excellent. We look forward for when that comes out. And John,
nothing from me really. You've heard the stories of my YouTube channel, Matt. If it's in the description, if people want to click on it and subscribe, then what I promise is very, very infrequent uploads that will hopefully be worth your time. But don't look out for them. Subscribe and click that bell, because eventually when one does drop, you might be pleasantly surprised by it. But I certainly won't be bombarding you with a load of rubbish very often.
Do you want to give a plug for London AFOLs or something?
Yeah, so if anybody is interested, if you're in the London area, the second Monday normally of every month, occasionally it does change because of bank holidays and things, but if you're in the London area and you want to come and meet up with some like-minded AFOLs in an evening, then we do take over a sort of spare room at the side of a pub, and there's normally around 40 to 50 of us, something like that, around 35, 40, 50 people get together for some Lego fun of various types, competitions, challenges, general relaxed building, whole mixture of things throughout the year. So yeah, we are in there. If you just search for London AFOLs online, you will find us. If you find the London Ontario group in Canada, don't join them. We're London in the UK.
Yeah, go and
I mean, do join them if you want to. I've nothing against them. At some point, I'm sure we'll have to get in touch with them and see if we want to collab. But yeah, if you're in London in the UK, come and see us.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, it's when I can get along to the London AFOLs, I guess it's the sort of thing I think Richard once pointed out. It's sort of like we're drawing on a population of about 9 million. So there's, obviously John's got some amazing talents in what he does, but most people there are very talented in whatever build style that they do. So it's just an amazing group of people and doing lots of different things. So yeah, definitely recommend that. And for me, coming up, I'll have the usual. Try to get out the most expensive Lego set. I think this weekend it will be 2016, the top 5. Do those. Back next week for the stream. Because it's actually on May the 4th, it's going to be a Star Wars stream. So most people here will be talking Star Wars, building Star Wars, something along those lines. So look out for that. And the usual good stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, all those sorts of things. And I think that's about it. Thanks everyone for coming on. Oh, and for the people that were in the chat earlier, Brett's Build, Simon, Big Nate Bricks, the Minifig Who, Ashley Usually Long, KO, Danny Fandoms, what have I written there? Can't even read my handwriting. Zuzu, Jake, Eric, Hillian's Bricks, GLS, Brick Askew, Bossman, and some others. Thanks very much. We'll do it all again next week. And I think Just find the outro and we are good. Thanks very much and have a good one. Bye.
Mr. Billund, det bliver super duper!
See ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.